the next step forward for motorsports. This is the Super Truck Series. The Super Truck Series, presented by NASCAR, will feature full-size pickup trucks made especially for racing and will debut at exhibition races in 1994 before becoming a major NASCAR Touring Series in 1995.
From there, the roughest, toughest racing in NASCAR was born. Huge stars crossed over, foes became friends. Truck racing, an elite fraternity for the fans. From the short tracks to the mega venues, truck racing champions were born. In the heartland, 400 races later, it's better than it's ever been. The setup presented by Polaris is on. And boy, have we come a long way from that inaugural race over 16 years ago.
The excitement that everybody has built up over this series, the chance to reach a new audience with truck fans.
Will Labonte cross and dive under? He'll try it. Single file off the corner. Labonte can't get there. Mike Skinner will go to victory lane.
Wow, Mike Skinner done everything but a left turn coming off that corner.
Harry's a real smooth racer, and I'll tell you, he gave me just enough room. He didn't give me any extra, but it worked out.
California's Mike Skinner won the very first race. You could fill up your tank for just $1.15 a gallon. Unbelievable. Bill Clinton was president. The #1 rock song, Lightning Crashes by Live. No storms in the forecast today, but we certainly have a great race on tap. Most of our races have been incredible. Very few have ended without some kind of drama. Hello, everyone. I am Chris Devoto. What an amazing day. For the 400th time, the gentlemen and ladies of the Truck Series will fire their engines. You know, this track, Kansas, has its own chapter of history. The very last race we've had here saw one of the greatest saves in history, and the very first race had its victory lane baptized by a first-time winner. Let's go ahead and take a look back. The date was July 7th, 2001. It was a hot day like today. The Cup Series had never raced here. Those drivers wouldn't visit for another 2 months, meaning the driver who won this race would be the first to show what a Kansas victory lane celebration should look like. And that person would be the young kid with a famous name. 21-year-old Ricky Hendrick won the inaugural race at Kansas, his first and what would be his only Truck Series win. Sadly, Ricky Hendrick's life ended way too soon. One of 10 killed in a plane crash in 2004. Gone, but not forgotten. His name will always be on the Truck Series winners list. At the time, Ricky was the youngest to ever win a truck race. In May 2005, it wasn't a famous son, but a famous brother who wrote a new record.
Here comes Kyle Busch, looking for his first ever win in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
But coming out of turn number 4, Kyle Busch will see the checker. Going to slide out of one. And Kyle Busch is going to win this race. Here comes the 51. Winning at Lowe.
Rowdy Busch in victory lane tonight. Will you put your money on the left hand? That's right. Rowdy is back, baby.
Here comes Rowdy. The confetti flies.
Kyle Busch wins. Kyle Busch pulling away 3 truck winners.
His 10th career victory in the Camping World Truck Series.
Kyle Busch wins in Texas. Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick. Kyle Busch will win again.
Domination.
All he can see is the checkered flags. He wins at Charlotte. Kyle Busch winning at Nashville.
Chicago is Kyle's town.
Here comes Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch will win at Talladega. He'll win his 28th Camping World Truck Series race.
That was awesome.
What Kyle Busch has done in all 3 of NASCAR series is unbelievable, but look what he has done in the trucks just this year. 5 total wins. He is leading the Owners' Points. He's a defending Owners' Points champions. This is his first truck race at Kansas. Ray is with him.
Well, today is a historic day with the 400th race in the series. Kyle, I think you were about 10 when we got started doing this, but your numbers have been really incredible. I'm curious, if you get a win today, you could move into second place all time on the win list. Has that ever sunk into you yet?
No, it doesn't really. You know, you just keep racing, and I hope I have a long time ahead of me and being able to run in this series and in NASCAR alone. But it's been fun. We've had a great time, and watching the 200-plus races on speed, of course, watching the 400th race here today, the past races, it's been a blast to follow the series and pay attention to the series. And we thank Camping World, we thank Craftsman, and everybody that's made it possible for us here. And so we'll see if we can't go get us one here today in our Dollar General Tundra. It wasn't very fast qualifying by itself, but it should be fast out there in the race.
Kyle Busch will roll off an uncharacteristic 11th, but I don't think it'll be long till the 18 will be to the front. Hermie?
Well, another driver we've seen up front all year long is Cole Witt, our current point leader. Now, you had your hands full in qualifying, starting 16th, but that doesn't necessarily mean what's going to happen in the race. How's your truck?
I think we got a pretty good truck. We just kind of taped it up there to make that one lap, and maybe got the front end stuck a little too good. And we're just trying to get a good lap, and we run it down in there wide open, and just didn't quite stick. So, but that's all right. We got a good truck, and I'd rather have it a little free. So this race, we can, it'll come to us. I think we got a good truck, and hopefully we can drive to the front.
These guys have been up front all year long. He'll looking to make his way to the front when the green flag falls. Krista?
Thanks, Hermie. Cole Witt is certainly living the dream, and keeping with our theme of youth gone wild, Witt is the youngest to ever lead the Truck Series points. Matt Crafton fell from the top spot to 4th. The big mover this week is James Buescher, up from 12th to 7th. You saw that Ron Hornaday is 5th on that list, 28 points out of the lead. That's 25 less points than he had following our last race. Following Charlotte, the team was hit with a penalty for an unapproved rear-end gear ratio. Now, the vendor who supplies the gears has taken full responsibility for the infraction. Even so, Kevin Harvick Incorporated is ultimately responsible, and this could have championship implications for the series' all-time winningest driver.
Ron Hornaday. Flag falls on Ron Hornaday.
Ron Hornaday's first Super Truck victory. Listen to this crowd.
Here he is out of 4. Ron Hornaday's won it.
You can give that one to Ron Hornaday of Palmdale, California.
Here comes Hornaday to second. Here goes Hornaday to the lead. What a finish, what a win, and what a day.
Ron Hornaday looking for his 41st win, the continuing record. Hornaday will be a repeat winner.
No problems today. As he turns number 51, he's able to get career win number 41.
The real history is being made. Ron Hornaday will win 5 races in the row in the Camping World Truck Series.
It's great to have you back as our champion. We know you can be a good one because you've been there before, and congratulations on your 4th Camping World Truck Series championship.
The all-time winningest driver, most championships in the series, and he's having a good year this year as well, but 47 total wins, a top 10 average finish as well. Hornaday always one to follow, but don't forget about one of his teammates in this race. Keep your eye on Clint Bowyer. Why? Well, he's only raced twice in the series this year, and both times he has finished second to Kyle Busch. He wants a win badly, and he wants it at this track. This is his home state, and his hometown fans is who he's racing in front of. This is a special day indeed, as we said, the 400th race in Truck Series history. All the drivers posing for a special photo. It's historic. Will it be majestic? We'll have to see what kind of finish we have. The setup is just getting warmed up. The setup is presented by Polaris, the hardest working, smoothest riding off-road vehicles, now at your local dealer. Brought to you in part by Camping World's RV Fair, June 23rd through July 4th. Food, fun, prizes, and everything you need to enjoy the RV and outdoor lifestyle. And by Race, Rock, and Refresh. To learn more about your chance to win a trip to Chicagoland Speedway and a Toyota Tundra, visit Dollar General. Save time, save money every day. So many moments in our series, several of them milestones. In Mansfield 2004, the Truck Series set a record for most women in a race with 3. It's a record that has since been topped. We had 4 at Martinsville last year. In 2003, Bill Lester became the first African American to win the pole, doing so at Charlotte. Congratulations to all of our history makers. and we have certainly had a lot of them. So many numbers accumulated in our 16-plus years of racing, none bigger than the number of miles raced. You know, 2 weeks ago, Kimi Räikkönen was in the truck race. You could travel from here in Kansas to his homeland of Finland 12 different times before totaling the amount of miles we have raced in the Truck Series. Welcome back. If you had told the guys who raced in that very first race, 1995, at Little 1 Mile Phoenix, that 5 years later they would be racing on the high banks of 2.5 Mile Daytona, they would have laughed. Well, it's not known now for just an amazing race, but also an event that quite possibly had one of the most spectacular scenes in all of sports. It was certainly jaw-dropping. Here's a look back.
Whenever the trucks take to the track in Daytona, it always proves to be an exciting race, and it all started with their first visit to the historic Superspeedway in 2000. With no restrictor plates, the trucks would be wide open and slingshot each other all over the track. To this day, the race still holds the record for the most lead changes, with 31. With nothing holding them back, the race would be plagued by wrecks, but one would stand out above the rest. On lap 56, Geoff Bodine's truck would get run up into the fence by the 46 and tumble along the front stretch in a fireball. Though shaken, Bodine would be fortunate to come away with just a few broken bones. After all the dust settled, it was the 2 truck of Mike Wallace who, on the last lap, was able to make the pass on the 60 of Andy Houston and win the first ever truck race in Daytona.
To this day, watching that crash and seeing Geoff Bodine live through it still gives me chills. Nothing can duplicate that first race, but every time we go back to Daytona, the ending lives up to the hype.
Goes down low, he tries to make a pass as they're coming on the line. It's Blake Crawford making the pass, and Crawford wins the Daytona 250.
You know, Jimmy Spencer is in victory lane right now, but I'm telling you, he has not been declared the winner yet. NASCAR has not told us yet that Jimmy Spencer won this race.
He is getting the official word. Guess what? You're second today, buddy.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe that. That's hard to believe.
Kvapil with an extremely strong truck. He will see the checkered flag, and Travis Kvapil trying to hold
Here we go.
off.
Look at Jack
side by side.
Oh, Jack
Sprague. Jack Sprague will win at Daytona. Todd Bodine scrapes the wall. Timothy Peters goes to the bottom of the racetrack to take the lead. Timothy Peters is wild coming up to the line. Timothy Peters is going to win at Daytona.
Here he
coming to the finish line.
He got him. Mikey, you got him.
Michael Waltrip has won his first ever Camping World Truck Series race 10 years to the day of his first Daytona 500
I can't believe I'm up here doing this race.
You know, standing in victory lane that night with Michael and his daughter Macy on the 10-year anniversary of his Daytona 500 win and the death of Dale Earnhardt, it was powerful and poetic. Of course, Michael wasn't upstairs in the broadcast booth that night. Rick Allen and Phil Parsons were. Right now, all 3 are ready to usher in race number 400.
Yeah, a great milestone that the Camping World Truck Series has met here. And Michael, I mean, you've been a part of some of the great moments here in this series.
Man, I remember, Rick, back in 1995, watching these trucks race at Phoenix. It looked like they drove them right off the showroom floor and they started competing side by side, bouncing off each other. Fast forward to 2011, I get in a truck that's so aerodynamically sound and so fast. I'm running 195 miles an hour in a pickup truck, and to pull off that last lap pass and get that win at Daytona is one of the most special memories I'll ever have racing anything.
You know, one thing I remember about this series is all the guys that have used this series for a stepping stone to move on to better things and bigger things. Carl Edwards, Greg Biffle, Jamie McMurray all started in this series, as well as Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, and how about the guy Kyle Busch that we talk so much about? He was 16 years old when he started in this series. They said finally, after a few races, hey, you're too young. You're going to have to wait till you're 18. And when he came back with a vengeance.
You know, you mentioned a lot of names there. One name he didn't mention was Butch Miller. Now, Butch Miller might not be one of the most recognizable names in the Camping World Truck Series, but he's etched his name in stone as the closest finish ever prior to electronic scoring.
Here's Skinner down on the inside, charging for the finish. He puts the fender right in the door of Butch Miller. Here they come out of 4, side by side, to the line. I think you can give it to Miller.
I think it's Miller.
I think it's Miller by 2 inches as Skinner waited the time and tried to pace himself for a perfect shot. Pulled up, it may have been an inch or two short.
That was our very first season, and 15 years later, another finish would rival it, and this time electronic scoring would make it official.
Almirola in front of Kyle Busch.
Who's going to make the move?
Kyle Busch is going to move to the inside.
They fan out. 2 wide, 3 wide.
It's a drag race. They're 3 wide at the stripe.
Kyle Busch across the line wins it. Kyle Busch 3 wide to the inside of the racetrack. He was sideways at the start-finish line, and Kyle Busch by inches.
2 1,000ths of a second.
Holy cow.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so that was the closest with electronic scoring, but there have been some other amazing finishes, including 2 that occurred in 2008. That was Michigan 2008. Darnell beats Johnny Benson to the line. Then in Vegas, it's Darnell again. This time, he does not come out on the front end. Skinner cashes in Vegas. A picture of Skinner's win is actually the first thing you see when you walk onto the second level of the media center in Las Vegas. And with a new casino being built right outside this track, I wouldn't bet against another finish here like we saw last year. More to come on this special edition of The Setup. The Setup is presented by Polaris, the hardest working, smoothest riding off-road vehicles, now at your local dealer. And brought to you in part by Dollar General. To get all of your favorite brands for race day, visit Dollar General. Save time, save money every day. Only 2 drivers in our field are multiple champions. Between the 2 of them, they have won 4 of the last 5 titles. Hornaday won in 09, 07, and twice more in the late 90s. 4 total for Hornaday, 2 for Todd Bodine, 2006, and last season, he is our defending champ. Jack Sprague is our only other multiple champ. He won 3 titles. Our other 7 champions include a wine aficionado from California, 2 Wisconsin cheeseheads, a pair of Pacific Northwest natives, including a current Sprint Cup champ contender, and a self-made man who defined the word champion. Each has his own story.
Never in the history of the Truck Series has a driver been able to win back-to-back championships. The most frequent champ, Ron Hornaday, won 2 titles with owner Dale Earnhardt. 9 years later, he won 2 more. This time, his owner was Earnhardt's successor in the driver's seat, Kevin Harvick. Until his 4th championship, Hornaday was tied with Jack Sprague for the honor of most series titles. Sprague is still second on that list with 3. The only other driver with multiple championships is the most recent champ, Todd Bodine. Bodine gave Toyota its first NASCAR championship in 2006. The only other Toyota driver to win the Truck Series title was Johnny Benson in 2008. No one has won the championship in all 3 of NASCAR's top series. The 2 have won nationwide and Truck Series titles, Johnny Benson and Greg Biffle. Biffle's 2000 title was the first NASCAR championship for owner Jack Roush. It was also the first Truck Series championship to be decided before the final race. One of the closest championship battles was in 2003. At the start of the race, 4 drivers were in contention to win the title. By the end of the race, no one was sure who had won the championship. Travis Kvapil was finally allowed to celebrate after Ted Musgrave was black flagged on the final restart. This was the 2nd straight series title for the number 16 of Express Motorsports. Mike Bliss won the team's first championship in 2002. After being black flagged out of the title in 2003, Musgrave came back to win it in 2005. This was the only championship for his owner, Jim Smith, one of the founders of the Truck Series. Only once has the championship gone to a driver owner. In 2004, Bobby Hamilton took the title while driving for his own team, Bobby Hamilton Racing. In the 16-year history of the series, 10 different drivers have won the title. But Mike Skinner will forever be known as the Truck Series' first champion.
And we certainly salute all 10 of our Truck Series champions. 16 seasons, 10 title winners. Speaking of champions, we have a special treat coming up. The best of the best in the Truck Series together again. Multiple champions side by side, and wait till you see who we found. It's a trophy edition next.
But Chris has been to every race that's ever been ran in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, and with that, a little token. Chris, thank you for all that you've done, and appreciate it.
In 16-plus seasons, Chris Showalter has never missed a race. He's worked for several teams and has been a part of 2 championship seasons. Currently the truck chief for Travis Quapple's team, Showalter made the trip to a race in 2004, one day after undergoing surgery. Now that is an Ironman. There is Chris Showalter, 400 races, meaning he has seen every race that these champions have won. We told you there are 10 champions in our series history. We are honored to be joined by 6 of them today, along with series director Wayne Aughton. Congratulations from all of us at Speed, all of our champions on 400 races.
Man, I'm standing in front of royalty. This is pretty cool. You know, it started in 1995, the very first race. Mike Skinner won by a nose over Terry Labonte coming out of turn 4 at Phoenix. Here we are 400 races later. Man, it's been a ride, races that you just couldn't believe. You know, big finishes. Daytona in 2003, Speed Channel's very first race, 3 wide with a Ford, a Dodge, and a Chevy coming across the line. That was pretty cool. I believe everybody voted that one the most memorable race, but when you're standing in front of royalty like these guys, it's pretty cool.
And you mentioned Skinner winning the very first race. Hard to believe we're standing here for number 400, Mike.
It's hard to believe that that the guys that I had to race against are still out here racing, and we've had other champions come and move on into the Sprint Cup Series, and what a great series. My hat's off to Bill France. You're the man.
We do have, you mentioned Greg Biffle in the Sprint Cup champion or in Sprint Cup Series now. Johnny, hey, maybe foreshadowing there. Johnny Benson, Mike Skinner, Travis Quapple, of course, our all-time winningest driver, Ron Hornaday, with 4 championships. What does this mean to you, race number 400?
It means I'm gonna have to win it. I mean, they got the 100th one, the 300th one. I gotta get the 400th one. But no, it says a lot. We're these and the grandkids, yeah, and the grandkids.
You guys still always talk about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got him outbeat on something. He's older than I am, so he thinks that I got to have more grandkids. But no, this just means a lot. I mean, these Truck Series wasn't supposed to go to over a mile racetrack, and now we're going to Daytonas and Kansas and Kentucky's and tracks like that. And then it just says a lot for what NASCAR's done. Still
racing in the series, along with our defending champion, Todd Bodine. And we mentioned milestones. Hornaday won race number 100 and race number 300. Ted Musgrave, who couldn't be with us today, won race number 200. So does that mean an eventual champion will win number 400? You'll have to stick around to find out. History will be made right now.
NASCAR racing is more popular than it has ever been. Today we are taking another giant step for motorsports.
The folks, you're seeing history made right now.
This is the Super Truck Series. The Super Truck Series, presented by NASCAR, will feature full-size pickup trucks made especially for racing.
Here's Skinner down on the inside, charging for the finish.
Trucks are already being built to compete on this series, and we expect racing teams for this series to come from many different areas of motorsports.
Kyle Busch wins the race. He clinches the owner's championship.
The trucks that will be racing on this series will be built to specifications that closely resemble NASCAR Winston Cup race cars. Several prototype trucks have already been built, and we expect these trucks to be fast.
They're coming on the line. It's Rick Crawford making the pass. That's what I'm talking about. Truck racing.
Milestones are markers along the road to document our progress. Mr. France envisioned the Truck Series as a new opportunity for drivers to hone their talents while chasing their dreams. It has exceeded all expectations. Welcome to the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series O'Reilly Auto Parts 250 here on Speed. It's race number 400, dating back to 1995. During those 16 years, hundreds of drivers have either started or made their NASCAR careers right here under this banner. Names like Busch, Biffle, and Edwards became commonplace in the Truck Series. Is Dillon the next name to reach stardom in stock car racing? He's got a good start, winning another pole in his young career. Let's head to pit road and continue with our pre-race ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats. As the 28th Infantry Battalion, 4th Brigade Combat Team, 1st Infantry Division presents our nation's colors. Now, please join us in a moment of silence for those affected by the devastating weather that hit America's heartland in the past several weeks, and remain standing as Don Raymond from Prison Fellowship Ministry of Lansing, Kansas offers today's invocation.
Good afternoon, Father. Thank you for such a beautiful day for a race. Father, we ask for your protection for the drivers, teams, and all of us watching. Lord, we are reminded today of the destructive tornadoes and loss of life that have occurred recently across our country. We pray for those in Joplin, Missouri, Redding, Kansas, and Tuscaloosa, Alabama. God be with our servicemen and women that are around the world protecting the many freedoms we enjoy. Honor them. We ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
To honor our troops, please place your right hand over your heart as Kansas resident Jeremy Vitt performs our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and broad stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
A warm day in Kansas City, Kansas, but that doesn't stop the celebration. We are celebrating the 400th race in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Who will celebrate at the end? You got to stick around to find out. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series on Speed is brought to you by Camping World's RV Fair, June 23rd through July 4th. Food, fun, prizes, and everything you need to enjoy the RV and outdoor lifestyle. By Herculiner Truck Bed Liners. With Herculiner, the tough comes easy. By Ortho Home Defense Max. Up to 12 months protection against bugs. Defend what's yours. And by Race, Rock, and Refresh. To learn more about your chance to win a trip to Chicagoland Speedway and a Toyota Tundra, visit Dollar General. Save time, save money every day. A year ago, two opinionated drivers were trying for the same real estate. Johnny Sauter, Ron Hornaday. Sauter not happy. Searched after Sauter and Hornaday. Those two had words. Then we came to Kansas. Hornaday got into the side of Sauter. They went sideways. Sauter went on to win. Well, 2 weeks ago, Charlotte. It hasn't ended yet. Ron Hornaday, Johnny Sauter continue the war of words. Will it happen on the racetrack? We're about to find out. The 400th race for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. That's one of our storylines. Chris Devoto, what are our other storylines?
Well, Rick, around here, college basketball is king. When Roy Williams coached at the University of Kansas, he won 418 games. The Truck Series is certainly catching up to Rock Chalk Jayhawk. In our 17th season, over 71,000 miles, this is race number 400. But it's not our only storyline. Kyle versus Clint. Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer right here in the field. Clint has raced twice this season in the Truck Series, and he's finished second to Kyle both times. He wants this win bad, but they are not the only two to keep your eye on. We have a lot of young guys in the field today, young guys who possibly are looking for their very first win, like a Cole Witt, a James Busher, a Brad Sweet. Will Youth Movement roll over the Cup Series stars? In 10 Kansas truck races, there have been 10 different winners. Austin Dillon is on the pole. These fans are about to go crazy, but still we have to get these engines started. We do it right now.
And now, race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome our Grand Marshal, co-owner of Hughes Auto, Tyler Hughes.
Drivers, start your engines.
Down here on the grid, in between the two trucks that will start on the front row, it's race number 400. We had 6 champs join us to start the show. Rick, Bill, Michael, will this race be the yellow brick road all the way to Titletown once again?
That's a good Kansas reference you went with there, Chris. And I love the fact that Chris Devoda is standing between the two trucks that will lead the field to the green flag when they fire the engines. We can't bring it to you any closer. This racetrack, though, might be a tough one today, Phil.
Well, this is going to be the hottest, slickest these guys have seen this racetrack. Qualifying this morning, that was the best they saw it all weekend. A little bit cooler, a lot of grip. Going to be no grip right now, Michael. This racetrack is going to be slick, and it's going to start at the green flag.
And it's not going to get any better, Phil. I talked to some of the guys down in the truck garage and the Cup garage, and they say, wow, Mike, this place is slick. There's so much work we got to do behind the wheel to keep going straight. The cool thing is they're going to be doing it from the apron all the way up to the outside wall, and we're going to be getting to watch every bit of it. So it's going to be a challenging race, but it's going to be fun to watch.
And a very warm weekend here in Kansas in the Truck Series, getting ready for their 400th start. The starting grid's going to roll across the top of your screen. Once again, it is Austin Dillon that will bring the field to the green flag, but could it be Cup star Clint Bowyer, who is the spoiler today at Kansas? That's about to be found out. First, we want to look at our Royal Purple track description and race analysis.
Great racetrack here. Mile and a half at length, one of the mile-and-a-half racetracks. 15-degree banking in the corners, a little bit flatter than some of the other fast mile-and-a-halves, Mikey.
Yeah, the banking feels interesting. You can't quite get the grip that you want when you're down low, so these guys will go up high and search around for it up there. You can see there the race length 167 laps, back straightaway a little bit, the front straightaway a little bit longer than the back. So these engines will be turning more RPMs as they get down into the first turn than they do on the back. That'll mess with how they run these corners. They're both uniquely different corners, so you'll have to drive them differently.
Now, we do have a special situation happening on this 400th race. We saw Greg Biffle earlier on pit road as one of the former champions in the Camping World Truck Series. And guess what? He is actually in the pace car right now. And, Phil, I think we could talk to him.
Let's see if we can. Hey, Greg Biffle, Phil Parsons up in the speed booth. You got a copy? Greg Biffle, you have a copy up here with the speed booth?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Greg, you've had so much success in your NASCAR career, and it started right here in this Truck Series. How many special memories do you have from this Truck Series?
Well, I tell you, Phil, I got a lot of memories, and this is a pretty special thing for me to be able to drive the field bring the field to the 400 start. I'll tell you what, so many memories driving the Granger truck, and just all the wins, the close calls, all the races. It's been a lot of fun.
Wayne Allen said he had to remind you not to turn, or that he had to turn left here when you pace this field, not stay on the racetrack to take the green flag.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's going to be tough to pull off. I'd really love to be able to drive this race, and I don't think this thing I'm driving will quite be quick enough for these guys, but I wish I was driving one of those trucks in about the first 4 rows.
Greg, do you have one special memory that sticks out? Was it your championship or maybe one of the other wins?
Well, I think the thing that sticks out the most is my first win ever at Memphis. My first win ever in the series. That was a special day for me. And then, of course, the championship. In '99, I missed that title by 8 points. That was tough, but the next year to come back and win it.
Well, Greg, you've been a great champion for the series, and we appreciate you taking time to talk to us, and have fun out there.
Thank you, and your pre-race show, guys, is unbelievable. You did a great job, and glad I still have one of those records, but these guys are doing a good job.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Well, Greg Biffle mentioned that one of his biggest moments was his first win. How about in our speed spotlight, we talk about guys who might get their first win. 3 drivers have done it at this racetrack: John Wood, Ricky Hendrick, and Eric Darnell. Could we add another to that list from Kansas? Ray?
Well, Rick, for the first time ever, we've got a rookie that's leading the points in this series. That's young Cole Witt in that Red Bull number 60. And I'll tell you what, they were not too happy with their truck in practice. They had an engine problem. They changed the carburetor and they changed out the ignition system, but eventually they had to put a different motor in. Cole Witt said, I only had a couple laps in practice, but I think we're okay. If he's going to get to the front, he'll have to do it from the back of the field. Hermie?
Thank you, Ray. And Craig goes, if he gets his first victory today, it will be with an assist from Kyle Busch. This 46 truck from Eddie Sharp Racing was actually built by Kyle Busch Motorsports. These guys were struggling in practice, so they went and got Kyle Busch to actually get in this truck. But Craig goes, he made 2 different runs on the racetrack and gave crew chief Trip Bruce some feedback on what they thought they needed to put Craig back in this truck and be competitive. So they have high hopes today that they'll turn the corner. Phil?
Hermie, I want to take a look at 20-year-old Westport, Connecticut driver Parker Kligerman. Parker started racing go-karts at the age of 13. In 2006, he raced in the Formula TR Pro Series. He won 11 of the 14 races. The 3 races he didn't win, he finished second in. He went to open wheel USAC midgets in 2007, started briefly his ARCA career back in 2008, but 2009 was when he burst on the scene with 9 ARCA wins in that season, finished second in points to Justin Lofton, who's also in this race, by 5 points. This is his 9th Truck Series race. He's had 3 top 10 finishes. His best was at Charlotte 2 weeks ago. He finished 8th. He will start the 7th from the 7th position in the Penske Truck Rental Dodge, Mikey.
Phil, let's look right over on the guy on the outside of Parker, and it's Joey Coulter starting 8th from Miami Springs, Florida. I get the question all the time, how do you get to one of the top series of NASCAR? What you have to do is win, and that's exactly what Joey's been doing since he started racing. He won in go-karts, he won in late models, and he won in ARCA. All that winning landed Joey in a Richard Childress Racing truck here in NASCAR. And if Joey wins today, I think there's a big party going to be on Wednesday night. You know why? He turns 21 that day.
You know, it surprises me that none of you mentioned the 31 of James Buescher. He's a guy who's been so close. Twice he's finished second, New Hampshire and Dover, and it looks like he is in position to get that first ever career win.
Well, I mean, Rick,
we were going to let you do it. That's why we didn't mention it.
Everybody knows that James is close to winning. We wanted to share the love a little bit.
We need to find out what the recipe for success is. Our Walmart recipe for success. We start with Ray Dunlap.
Well, Rick, just about every week I'll give you most of the field if you'll give me Kyle Busch. Look at the numbers for KBM. They are unbelievable. This team has won 8 of our last 11 races. It's awfully hard to bet against him, but every winner so far in the 10 races here at this track have come from qualifying in the top 10. Today, Kyle Busch rolls off 11th. Hermie?
Well, thank you, Ray. The recipe for success for Ricky Carmichael would be just a little bit of luck. In qualifying earlier today, qualifying lap, he gets loose, very similar to what happened at Dover. He bags it into the fence. They have to go to a bag-up truck with no laps on this truck on the racetrack. He will start from the back and try to salvage a decent finish. Rick?
Thank you so much, Hermie and Ray. That is the recipe for success, the Walmart recipe for success. Well, he did make the hard left turn. That's Greg Biffle that took the pace truck onto pit road. Now the field in the hands of young Austin Dillon. Who will win race number 400? Green flag in the air.
Perfect start by both those guys on the front row. They brought them down really nicely. Clint Boyer drives off to a bit of an edge as they head toward turn 1.
You know these guys are going to run through here wide open. See what Austin can do on the outside.
Side by side, they stay just behind that 2 of Clint Boyer. 2 and 3 wide as they go down the backstretch for lap number 1.
Johnny Sauter pulls up to the inside of Austin Dillon. We know those trucks get loose when you're on the bottom of another truck.
A warm day in Kansas City, Kansas from the Kansas Speedway. Clint Boyer leads lap number 1 in his home state. The battle still on for second. Sauter on the inside. Austin Dillon making the move on the high side. Looks like he'll clear him coming out of 2.
How about that side-by-side battle for a minute now? Right now, Nelson Piquet Jr. gets the edge over Parker Kligerman. Great early showing for those young drivers.
Yeah, Sauter drives back up on the inside of Dillon, so that position still being contested. Sauter's truck's got to be really good right now, Phil, to be able to run that bottom line like he is and stay even and pull ahead of Austin Dillon.
How about Johnny Sauter taking the spot back away from young Austin Dillon? The move on the outside by Nelson Piquet Jr. and that number 8 just on the outside of the 29 of Parker Kligerman.
Nelson Piquet Jr. had that great second place finish just a few races ago at Nashville. That ran really well the last 2 races. Got in trouble in the last 5 laps, both of those races.
Field beginning to spread out now as we're on lap 3 of 167. 250 miles for the trucks.
Kyle Busch moves to the high side. Michael, you said it at the very beginning. These trucks will be able to run from the apron all the way to the top of the racetrack.
You know, it takes the same talent, Phil, to get one of these things around here in qualifying as it does the race, but you just got to use more options when it comes time to race. You can't just run that bottom line. If your truck isn't sticking down there, you got to go hunting, and that's what Kyle Busch is already doing here early in the going. He's hunting
all the way to the edge of the gray.
Coulter just in front of him in the 22. Here comes Jason White trying to get by that 17 of Timothy Peters.
Birthday boy, Jason White. Tomorrow will be his birthday. Here comes James Buescher. You were talking about him, Rick.
James Buescher making the move on the inside of Nelson Piquet Jr.
How about this little lineup here? Kligerman, Buescher, Piquet Jr. Okay, there's Ron Hornaday and Todd Bodine. A couple of champions racing with guys that are just starting their career in NASCAR.
How about Todd getting by Ron Hornaday on the outside?
Hornaday, both Hornaday and Bodine trying to make sure they don't have similar problems to 2 weeks ago at Charlotte, our first mile and a half of the year, where both of them on their own were turned around and going the wrong way on those racetracks.
Yeah, Germain Racing brought a brand new truck here for Todd Bodine. Looks pretty good early.
Yeah, that was a weird race, wasn't it, Rick? Even Kyle Busch spins out, grabs the win. Timothy Peters was on the pole, had one of the best trucks over in Charlotte. Spun out and got in the wall, so a lot of stuff went wrong last week at Charlotte for these teams. It just shows you how hard they drive these things.
Here a very slick racetrack, but early on seems somewhat tame. Kligerman holding on to the 4th spot. Buescher just behind him in 5th. Here comes Kyle Busch. Almost looked like he put the bumper to the back of that 33 of Hornaday to move him out of the way.
Kyle wanted the bottom of the racetrack there. Ron was there. He said, well, let me get him a little bit loose and get him up off that bottom. And that's what he did.
Door to door, and Kyle Busch makes the pass now as Hornaday drops back one more spot. Just behind him, young Brad Sweet in the 10th position.
Ray Dunlap mentioned earlier during our qualifying show that this is Brad Sweet's last scheduled race in this truck, so he certainly wants to go out with a bang, and he's looking pretty good so far.
You mentioned that brand new truck of Todd Bodine's, Phil. I'm liking that truck early in the going. You know, Todd looks like he's going to be a guy they'll have to deal with today. Certainly he knows how to win on these mile-and-a-half tracks, and I believe he's got a new truck under him today that he can do just that with.
That truck had not turned a lap on any track, hadn't been tested anywhere prior to being unloaded from the hauler when they got here to Kansas.
Back in the day, you'd never do that, would you, Phil?
No.
You want to test your truck, you'd be nervous wreck if it was a brand new one. Now, give me the best you got, team, and I'll try it out.
And when they go on the racetrack, they run it wide open that first lap.
James Buescher continues to move up, takes a spot away from Parker Kligerman. He moves up to the 4th position. Everyone chasing the 2 of Clint Boyer. Can he hang on? Twice already this year, he's finished 2nd both times to Kyle Busch. Can he hold on for the win in his home state? Today, the Rolex Sports Car Series puts the hammer down in a grueling test of stamina. 6 hours of hard-pounding, fun fender rubbing action. Don't miss the Rolex Sports Car Series 6 hours of Glenn today at 4:30 Eastern. It's going to be fun and fender rubbing.
And you try to say those two things at once, and it doesn't make any sense at all, Rick.
Clint Boyer has about a 0.8 of a second lead over Johnny Sauter, but the battle continues behind him. Hornaday losing spots. Now Timothy Peters is able to get by on the inside. Herman.
Yeah, Ron Hornaday, obviously about what's going on the racetrack, is not happy with his truck. On lap 5, he reported to crew chief Jeff Hensley he thought he had a right rear tire going down. He said it was so loose on entry and exit, he cannot get the truck around this racetrack, and he is now just inside the top 15 after starting 5th. Ray?
Todd Bodine has lost a few positions. He said he's got a bit of a vibration. His last comments to crew chief Mike Hillman Jr. was, it's pushy, loose off. Pushy, loose off. How about that, Mikey?
That's bad, Ray. You can't think of, as a crew chief, you got to figure out how to work on that. And sometimes it takes a combo of things, Phil. Maybe you let a little bit of air out of the right rear tire and you take some wedge out, or you know, you raise the track bar. You do two opposite things and hoping the combination of those adjustments will help you.
Problems for Hornaday. Around goes the 33.
Go, caution's out. Right rear.
In 3 and 4.
Left rear tire.
There's the tire.
He thought he had a flat tire, and he was right.
Hey, it's got the front end and the back end. It's got both of them. Right rear tire blew off of it.
No, it's the left rear tires. You can see there. It looked like the right rear was fine, but the left rear went
a lot of damage, though, to that truck.
He was running 13th when he was entering turn 3. Take a look at what just happened.
Here he is on the outside of Clay Rogers. Remember, he reported then that he thought it had a tire going down, and he was right on it. He knew he had a tire going down. That left rear was getting soft. You see him wiggle. We were watching him a couple laps ago, and then the carcass just comes off that tire. That tire had definitely been deflating, and finally the air got so low that the tire came apart.
And you know, Phil, that's, as you see the spin again, that's one thing that's tough about these Goodyear tires. They're so good. You know, they hang in there and they'll run basically flat. But then when finally they go all the way flat, it just causes the truck to go out of control. So it's a shame that that happens entering the corner. You get lucky maybe going down the straightaway and you save that truck.
Yeah, not so lucky for Ron Hornaday, unfortunately. But, you know, he felt like he had a problem, and he was obviously right. But you hate to stop and give it up. Here's the onboard. Listen.
Blew the tire. Here we go. Caution's out. Right rear. Where's the tire, dude?
And Ron said, I told you it was a tire, dude.
Into the garage already for Ron Hornaday. There's what used to be the tread on that left rear for Ron Hornaday. It goes down. He goes into the wall and brings out our first caution of the day. So Hornaday, 4-time champion, winner of race 100 and 300, stacked against him for 400. Race number 400, another milestone for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Hornaday won race number 100. He won race number 300 and now has problems in race number 400. The Aaron's Lucky Dog goes to Jennifer Jo Cobb. She'll get a lap back.
She just lives right down the road from here, Rick. She can go to Aaron's store near there and get her lap back.
Let's find out what happened on pit road. We start with Ray.
Well, Rick, we saw the 60 come down pit road and get fuel in his truck, and made a big track bar and and a wedge adjustment. They did not change tires down on that end, but up further in the field for me, Jason White came in for 4 tires on lap 18. He was extremely loose. They made a big track bar adjustment and also air pressure on the right front. Hermie?
Yeah, Ray, we're getting a look here in the garage on the 33 truck. Ron Hornaday just getting out of the truck, obviously very disappointed. A lot of damage to the left front, not only sheet metal, but also suspension damage. They're working hard on that, and around the back. He really got a lot of damage on the back end of the truck as well. I think they will get this truck back on the racetrack, but it's going to be a while. A lot of damage to the 33. Very disappointing day for these guys.
You know, guys, he had a great run of top 10 finishes going the last 6 races after having trouble in Daytona. But with that 25-point penalty that Krista was talking about, that turned his fifth place finish into a 30th place finish. So you couple that with this bad luck here, that's going to hurt in the points.
You're right, Phil. Watch, he goes down in turn 3, the tire blows out. Can you imagine when the race was over at Charlotte? He's 1 point out of the point lead. They pile on 25-point penalty to him. That drops him back. And now just a handful of laps into the race here in Kansas, he's crashed into the wall. Things just changed that quickly in NASCAR.
He's going to lose another 25, 30 points in this race. So he's going to, instead of being 1 or 2, 3 points out of the lead, he's going to be 60 points out of the lead.
Take a look at the 400th race, the milestones that we have passed. As I mentioned, race number 100 and 300, both won by Hornaday. Musgrave won race 200. Who will go to victory lane for 400? That will be answered in 147 laps.
Clint Bowyer's looking pretty good so far.
He's looking pretty stout.
Pretty smooth start for old Clint Bowyer. He got the lead from Austin Dillon on the break and never looked back. Or he might have looked back, but nobody was catching him.
Clint Bowyer leading the field to the green. It's back out. We're back underway.
Wow, what a great start by Bowyer. He was able to jump the start that time. You know, on the initial get-go, Phil, he had to let Austin Dillon command when the race was started because Austin was the pole sitter. That time he could jump when he wanted to, and he jumped right out in front of Johnny Sauter.
Austin Dillon settles into third. James Buescher now trying to grab that fourth spot back once again from Parker Kligerman.
How about Kyle Busch there on the inside?
Well, Kyle Busch running on the inside of James Buescher. Gets the fourth spot. Buescher now battling for the fifth position with Kligerman.
And you know how important these starts are. Wow, look at this mess. Got 3 wide. Timothy Peters to the outside. Brad Sweet, Nelson Piquet Jr. And here comes Cole Witt looking these guys over.
Remember, Cole came down pit road for fuel only.
I bet he's wondering why he did that when he saw all that mess.
That could really come into play later if this race goes green and these guys up front have to make a green flag pit stop that did not use that caution to pit.
You know, you talk about later, those starts that Clint Bowyer is getting right now, Rick, early in the race, he's logging that in his brain. He knows he's got a really good thing. It's nothing for us to have overtime in NASCAR, and if we have some today, I like the way that number 2 truck of Clint Bowyer takes off on the start. That could be a big advantage later.
You know, these trucks will start off in second gear on the restart. There is no rule on what second gear is in the transmission. There is a rule on what third gear can be, but there is no rule on second gear, and it looks like whatever he has, it's working.
They picked a good one. You think maybe Ron Hornaday maybe give him a little advice and direction on what gear to have in there?
He might have.
The restart master.
Kyle Busch looking to the inside of that 3 of Austin Dillon, trying to take third away from the driver of the number 3.
How long do you think Clint Bowyer felt like he would have this place to his own before that yellow truck come calling on him?
I think he knew, as we all knew, that Kyle Busch, it wouldn't be long before he came up into the top 10 after starting 11th and fought for this thing.
There's the gap. There's only one truck between Kyle Busch and Clint Bowyer, so he's made his way around a lot of trucks, and coming right along with him, just a few trucks back, is that number 30 of Todd Bodine. He's really strong today, too.
Todd Bodine working a little bit higher line than the 29 of Parker Kligerman. James Buescher just in front of him in the 31.
Look at that momentum that higher line gave Todd Bodine. He was able to drive right back up on the tailgate of Parker Kligerman. Now he's going to tuck it to the bottom in 1 and 2.
Good run early for some of these young drivers we have. Austin Dillon, obviously a 2-time winner last year, but James Buescher, Parker Kligerman up now running in the top 6.
Out in front, it's Clint Bowyer. Johnny Sauter runs second. Kyle Busch is third. Austin Dillon, James Buescher, your top 5. Then it's Parker Kligerman, Todd Bodine, Joey Coulter, Nelson Piquet Jr., and Brad Sweet are your top 10. Again, side by side, racing for position. James Buescher trying to take fourth away from the 3 of Austin Dillon.
Austin Dillon can look right up ahead of him and see the line that the 18 truck of Kyle Busch is running. Kyle's gone to the top side, so probably didn't bother Austin that much that James drove down on the bottom. He says, well, okay, I'll go up high and see what I've got.
I think Austin's going to school following Kyle Busch and watching the line. It may take him a few laps to get used to that line. Sometimes once you get acclimated, then you'll be able to drive away from the trucks that chased you down.
That's what we see Todd Bodine doing. He's up on the outside of Kligerman coming down the front straightaway. Sometimes that high line's weird. Sometimes it takes guys a couple years of running up there to ever really get used to it, where the veterans have got it down from the time they throw the green flag. And you see guys every now and then, like Cole Witt, just jumps right up there like he knows what he's doing. So it's a unique talent to be able to run high like that.
And a great opportunity at a racetrack like this where you have multiple lines that you can run, either at the bottom of the racetrack or the high side. Again, these two continue to battle it out. That is for the 4th spot. Dillon had it. James Buescher now gets credit for it as he crossed the stripe just in front of the 3. But now the momentum of the 3 working back on the high side. And here comes the 30 of Todd Bodine, throwing his name into the mix for this 4th spot.
Yeah, those guys running side by side has allowed Todd Bodine to chase down them. Now he's going to pull up. Now what's he going to decide? Is he going to go to the bottom? It looks like this end of the racetrack. He's going to follow James Buescher.
These two haven't decided who's going to hold on to that 4th spot just yet.
Austin Dillon saying, push me, push me. The aerodynamic push that Todd Bodine could give Dillon might help him clear Buescher.
That time by Dillon was in front when they went across the start-finish line.
You have to remember, these trucks are probably running 180 miles an hour in race trim right now at the end of the straightaway, so drafting is certainly coming into play.
Buescher still at the bottom of the racetrack. Now 2 trucks running the high line. This time Bodine decides to go to the bottom of the racetrack as he goes through 3 and 4.
He may be looking to get under James Buescher. No, he's going to use the whole racetrack and follow Austin Dillon. Not swing back to the bottom.
I don't think he can make up his mind, Phil.
James Buescher decided he'd go to the apron that time by to see if he could get any type of an advantage. 1.6 seconds separate Clint Bowyer and Johnny Sauter, the Kansas native. Clint Bowyer looking to get another win in the Camping World Truck Series. Problems, though, for our biggest champion, Ron Hornaday, early at Kansas. This July, baseball's biggest stars will gather together in the Arizona desert for one spectacular night in the summer's biggest event, as Fox brings you every thrilling moment of the 2011 MLB All-Star Game. Coverage begins Tuesday, July 12th, live from Phoenix at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, only on Fox.
Remember, whichever team wins, National American League gets home field for the World Series.
Huge advantage, and we see Clint Bowyer with a huge advantage over second place Johnny Sauter. 2.3 seconds separate the two of them. Clint Bowyer now putting a few more trucks a lap down.
That kid, Clint's focused here, isn't he, Phil? He really wants to grab the victory in his own backyard, and it's all he's talked about since he got to town is getting that win. He was disappointed getting chased down by Kyle Busch and beaten the last few laps last week at Charlotte, and what more motivation does he need to come here and redeem himself against Kyle and the rest of the guys and win at home?
Looking pretty good so far for 37 laps.
Ray, what are we hearing about Johnny Sauter?
Well, he said that the truck has been taken off on him a little bit. In the last couple of laps, when he got to the throttle coming off the corner, he said the left front was dragging, and that actually helped de-wedge the truck a little bit. So they're talking about making an air pressure adjustment, going up a little bit on air on that left front to try to get the splitter off of the racetrack.
Bob Bodine on the right side of your screen was making the move on the 3 of Austin Dillon. Got all the way up to the bumper of Dillon. Didn't look like he tried to make the move, though.
Didn't like his angle. There wasn't anywhere for him to go. He didn't want to run the high side, so he just fell in behind Dillon into the corner and then made his move off. That was a veteran move right there. He had a big run, but he knew he didn't want to do anything with it. He wanted to keep his angle of attack into the corner, Phil, by staying up high. He didn't want to dive low and get in the corner. That would have messed up his exit.
And he knew he had a better opportunity. He worked the frustrated to get underneath him and then just drove by him down in 1 and 2. Good veteran move by Todd, who moves him up into the 4th spot.
So Todd Bodine takes 4th away from Austin Dillon. That moves him back to 5th. Again, your top 5, Clint Bowyer, Johnny Sauter, Kyle Busch is 3rd. Bodine and Dillon top 5.
Yeah, that's why I love a race, Rick. I mean, there's so many things that go on. When you see a move like that, that kind of reminds you of baseball when they do a hit and run or a pickoff play. Todd Bodine was cool. He come down the back straightaway at 175 miles an hour, had a big run on Austin Dillon. He said, I got a better plan. Y'all watch this. I'm just going to ease it in here and pass him on the way off. There's so many times during the course of the race that if you love this sport as much as we do, you can just watch guys do special things like that. I love it.
And that may be one of the reasons he's won 21 of these races.
We saw amazing things 2 weeks ago. Kimi Räikkönen, first ever start in a stock car as far as NASCAR is concerned, and he did amazing things in his first start. We're seeing more amazing things here at Kansas in the 400th Truck Series race.
What about this battle for 13th? Miguel Paludo has driven around the outside of Cole Witt. Cole dives to the bottom. I don't think you knew Travis Kvapil was down there. That could have been a crash if we hadn't been talking about a veteran like Travis Kvapil letting Cole have that corner. But I was at the coffee shop the other morning, and Miguel walks in, and there's a girl in line in front of me, and they start talking around me. Portuguese. I felt like I was at the nail salon. Were they talking about me? What were they saying? But it was fun to talk to Miguel. He's really pumped up about this race, and it's good to see him fast early.
On the left side of your screen, the battle for the 5th position. Austin Dillon trying to take it back away from James Buescher.
You know, James tried Austin for lap after lap, wasn't able to do it. Todd Bodine got by James as well as Austin. James said, well, if Todd can do it, surely I can do it, but he hasn't been able to do it yet.
Still up front, it's Clint Bowyer. Clint Bowyer's led all 42 laps that have been completed here at Kansas. Can he get the victory lane? That's the big question. Tomorrow, NASCAR Race Day rolls into Kansas, where Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano join us live. The crew Chief Steve Letarte discusses Dale Jr.'s last lap heartbreak in Charlotte. NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot. Tomorrow, 10:30 Eastern, live on Speed. Johnny Sauter running second. He's 2 seconds behind Clint Bowyer. We're starting to see a few green flag pit stops. Parker Kligerman came on to pit road. Todd Bodine is on pit road. Kyle Busch runs third. Buscher fourth, and Dillon is fifth. Let's go to pit road and Ray Dunlap.
Well, a little bit surprised to see Todd Bodine in this early. We saw a couple of trucks already on pit road. They should be able to go about 5 more laps. Right side tires going on this MTB Valvoline Toyota. They'll come around and do 4 tires, get her all packed full of fuel. Todd said he was just a little bit loose coming off the corners. Hermie?
Yeah, Ray, Parker Kligerman came to pit road 2 laps ago. He was a little bit loose. He took 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, in wedge in the left rear, and we're expecting Kyle Busch on pit road this time by.
You know, guys, we said the pit window was somewhere between 52 and 57 laps, but remember, these trucks qualify, and they're not able to refill these trucks after qualifying. So that's an extra 3 or 4 laps that takes them out of the first run of the race.
And then you add in the pace laps the trucks run too, so that puts them right in that window. Hey, Ray.
Hey, Mikey, looking down the track here, we see Johnny Sauter coming in, also the 17, and they are going to try to tighten him up a little bit. He's free all the way around. They're going 4 tires and fuel. They said, don't wait on the fuel, just go. Hermie?
Yeah, Kyle Busch is in the pits for 4 tires and fuel. He's a little bit tight. He tells his crew chief, Eric Phillips, the truck feels good, just not going anywhere. 4 tires and fuel, no adjustments, Ray.
Right rear got hung up on the 13 for Johnny Sauter. This is going to be an extended pit stop, some of what took him out of a great run last season. So they will definitely go longer than they wanted to. Here comes Clint Bowyer. He'll come into the pits watching. They're going to make a little bit of an air pressure adjustment on the right front. Here's what his conversation was with his crew chief, Bruce Cook. We know for a fact that these other guys are going to get better. Don't make too big of an adjustment, but we don't want to get out of it either. They're going 4 tires here for the Bad Boy Buggy Chevrolet, and while they get that all done, we look down the pits just a little bit further to the 3. 4 tires for Austin Dillon. 2 cans of fuel, a half a round out of the left rear for the adjustment. These guys talking about his exit not being as good. Now as we look down at the other end of pit road, the 31 is coming in of James Buscher. All of these pit stops happening between lap 47 and 51, but about a 4 or 5 lap swing for a number of these guys. Hermie?
Yeah, Ray, Brad Sweet is on pit road in the 32 Great Lip Chevrolet. His truck is tight. They're taking 4 tires, just an air pressure adjustment this time. A good run so far for the 32 truck.
And we're hearing a penalty for the 3 of Austin Dillon. Too fast entering is what NASCAR is saying, so he will have to do a pass-through penalty under this green flag condition.
And he's hit pit road right now, Rick. And that is the longest ride he'll have all day long. He's coming down. You can see all the way back to turn 4 as that 3 truck just creeps toward the exit of pits.
And you have to be careful not to do it again, because we've seen guys before that were serving a penalty and get penalized again while they were doing it.
Check out, this is a great shot. See how high that nose is? That's what aero. That's how much aero downforce these trucks have. It wants to go down the road at that height, but as soon as he gets on the gas and the wind, it just pushes that front end down. And that's why these silly pickup trucks run 185 mile an hour here at Kansas.
Right.
At the very beginning of the race, guys, Joey Coulter had said he was about an 8 loose, but he said his truck has gotten better as they went on the long run. So Harold Hawley doesn't want to make too big of a swing on this thing. They're one of the last trucks to hit pit road. That was lap 53 that just completed, and these guys will go for a 4-tire stop here, and they just reminded him on the radio that the 3 was too fast, so be careful with your pit road speed.
Remember, Matt Crafton, our leader right now, was one of those trucks that pitted back on lap number 18. Several of the trucks, Cole Witt was another one. He's right now being shown in the 6th position. Justin Lofton, Miguel Paludo, Travis Quapple, Jason White, all up in the top 5. Remember, they have just a little bit more fuel than these other guys.
You see the 18 going by. Kyle Busch trying to get a lap back.
I think that's new tires versus old tires right there. Matt Crafton trying to stay out of the way because he knows that those guys are faster.
Well, he's probably coming to pit road. If he's getting beat that bad, he's got to get in and get some tires and get some gas, and here he comes. You can't give up that much speed, Rick. I mean, it doesn't make any sense this early in the race. Hermie's heading towards you, brother.
Yeah, he's coming down pit road. He was on pit road on lap 18, still fighting a loose condition on this truck. They're taking 4 tires. They're working the right side right now. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, and an air pressure adjustment on this stop for the 88.
I think that's when you have to make a decision. Do you want to stay out there and try to catch a bunch of people a lap down, or do you want to, and when you're doing that, you're a lot slower than they are because you're on old tires, or do you want to stay in sync with them and get to pit road, get some tires so you don't lose that much time on the racetrack?
And maybe the speed of Kyle Busch and those guys coming around him was all Matt Crafton needed to see. He said, I know what we need to do. We need to pit. Justin Lofton, on the other hand, sitting out there leading the race now. This is a good time for him to show the world what this team's all about. They've been running good all weekend long. Now he's grabbed the lead. He might stretch it out and take a chance. You know, that team might gamble a little bit. This team, Cole Witt, has decided it's time to come to pit road as well. Right.
Now they're going to put around a wedge in the left rear for Cole, and another 4-tire stop here. Mark this one down for lap number 56. Cole has been talking about his truck is just fine when he's out in clean air, but when he gets up in traffic, it's a real handful.
So Justin Lofton staying on the racetrack. Again, as Phil mentioned, he came onto pit road on lap 18. The top 10 right now have all been on the racetrack since lap 18. They have not chosen to come onto pit road. That's Lofton, Miguel Paludo, Travis Kvapil, Jason White, Brendan Gaughan, your top 5, Max Pappas, David Starr, Shane Sieg, Craig Gose, and Justin Marks.
Some of the faster trucks that have already made their pit stop can run about a half to 3/4 of a second faster than these lead trucks right here. So that's where they're going to have to say, how long do we want to try to do this? How long do we want to try to stay out here and put a bunch of people a lap down?
The gap between 1 and 2.
About 2 more.
Justin Lofton in the 77. Miguel Paludo in the 7. Paludo going to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to close the gap between he and Justin Lofton. 5 different leaders here in Kansas early on. Welcome back to Kansas Speedway. We're under the second caution of the day. The 39 of Ryan Sieg has the hood up. Smoke rolling out from the back of that truck.
There he is right there on the racetrack. You see smoke coming out the tailpipes. That's a bad sign. His crew chief asked him on the radio, do you think it, is ignition or something like that? He said, no, it's losing cylinders. It's blown up.
Smoke rolling out of the exhaust pipe when he tried to fire it back up again.
Yeah, but this is a huge break for Cole Witt. Everyone on pit road here, but Cole Witt was black flag for speeding on pit road. He gets a reprieve. Hermie.
Yeah, Justin Lofton, good break for him. Stayed on the racetrack, had the lead. They're taking 4 tires. Looking at a tight condition on the 77 truck. They got a special paint scheme on the hood this week. Watch out for him. Also the 5 of Travis Kvapil. His truck is tight. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, and pulling a rubber out of the left rear. Ray?
Well, Todd Bodine comes back down pit road for another round of tire changes here. He said he was not happy with that truck, and as I said earlier, they have been reporting a vibration. Want to making sure that they've got all the lug nuts good and tight. They fill that thing full of fuel, and Todd will go back to the racetrack here at lap 62.
Todd was 3rd off of pit road. The drivers that have been on pit road, and we got problems, it looks like. That's for the 7 of Miguel Paludo.
Did he break his... No, he's going now.
Yeah, thought maybe a drive shaft or something like that.
So our second caution has come out. This time it was the smoke of Ryan Sieg as the engine expired on that race truck. Stay with us. Speed Inside Deals is offering an unbelievable Pocono Raceway ticket package for their June 12th NASCAR Sprint Cup race. Head over to speed.com/deals for more details on the Pocono Raceway ticket package and check out all the additional Speed Inside deals.
That is your source for tickets if you want to go to one of these races.
Let's go down to Hermie Sadler for an update on pit road.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. Kyle Busch came to pit road. He's not had much to say about his truck, too. Eric Phillips, his crew chief, other than it's driving pretty good, a little bit snug, but doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So they came in this time, 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, and raised the track bar on the right side just to get to more speed. And also at the end of pit road, I note that David Starr got a penalty for too fast exiting pit road.
Yeah, Brian Silas also too fast entering pit road, so he will be serving a penalty as well.
You saw that graphic for Kyle Busch. Last 3 starts, win.
And, you know, I think maybe the crew's used to Kyle being sideways and sliding around, and when he said it doesn't have any speed, it feels good, they said, we can fix that. We'll make it not feel good anymore. Maybe that'll speed you up some.
2x2 as they make their way into the trial here at Kansas Speedway as we're getting ready for the restart. Clint Bowyer and Johnny Sauter back up front. Green flag back in the air.
Both those drivers elected to stay on the racetrack after making their green flag pit stop on lap 50 and 49 respectively.
5 trucks took advantage of that when the leaders stayed out and got a wave around. So
Johnny Sauter moving to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to take a little air off of that too. He takes the lead going down the backstretch.
Kyle Busch wanted to make it 4 wide there, but Ty Bodine didn't give him any room up at the high side of the racetrack while we had that pass for the lead.
Oh, we got a spinner.
32 of Brad Sweet in the Great Clips.
Hold your brake. You're all right. You're all right.
Great Clips truck slides, and the caution will come out.
Was that, would it be fair to call that a lazy slide?
Lazy
Seemed
slide.
like a lazy slide.
A half spin, maybe. But what a huge break for Austin Dillon. Austin wasn't able to get the wave around because he was behind Clint Bowyer and Johnny Sauter. But I think he will get it this time, put him back on the lead lap and back in contention.
Yeah, and what about the 5 cats that took advantage of the wave around? Brad Sweet was one of them, so it didn't work out perfectly for him. But you got Crafton and PK and Coulter, Peters. These guys will get to come in, service their trucks, and they're back in this baby.
PK jumps in the middle there. There's going to be a little bit of contact right there. Brad Sweet didn't leave enough room for 2 trucks underneath him.
I bet he didn't think Nelson would drive into that hole. He thought he was diving in on the outside of Johanna, and all of a sudden, bam, there's somebody inside of him.
There's another U right there. You see Nelson Piquet Jr. right down next to Johanna, trying to give him as much room as he could.
That's how competitive it is. We got to go, you know, when they throw the green, and Nelson's learned that pretty quickly when he came NASCAR racing.
Johanna does a nice job getting by before Brad comes back down to the racetrack. How about Joey Coulter, your speed spotlight driver right there?
Yeah, the next first-time winner. I think maybe we've preserved the opportunity there. We can still get that baby.
Brad Sweet again goes around after a little contact from the 8 of Nelson Piquet Jr.
Look at David Starr, too. The patience of Timothy Peters, all those guys watching that truck spin, seeing that smoke. You know, it looked pretty obvious to us what was happening with all the smoke those guys are trying to fight through. They had to really be patient, be calm, let that thing develop, decide which way to go.
A few trucks making their way to pit road. Austin Dillon receives the Aaron's lucky dog as he makes his way into pit stall number 1, right?
And Austin's saying his truck is jittery. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I'm saying it's definitely talking about the entrance of the corner. So they're going to make air pressure adjustments here. He'll go for 4 tires. And this is pretty good strategy to do this after you get your penalty and get back around. So they'll get tires and fuel. Mark that down for lap 67.
Johnny Sauter is your leader at Kansas. Clint Bowyer now runs second. Bodine, Lofton, Kyle Busch, your top 5. Speed's coverage of the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series is brought to you by Just for Men Mustache and Beard. Keep your edge. Brought to you in high definition by Funai. Funai, fun and innovative. Experience more at FunaiAmerica.com. And by AT&T.
You know what we've had, Rick? A reset. Things got all jumbled up. We had some guys pit early. They got other racers a lap down. The caution comes out. We've been able to get it all back rearranged. One thing that hasn't changed much, the 2 guys up front, they switched spots, Sauter and Bowyer, but they've been up there all day long. And to review so far what's happened in the first 70 laps, Kyle Busch hasn't shown the speed that we've seen out of him in the recent weeks. And the reason why I know that is because he finished first in recent weeks, and he hasn't been there yet.
Austin Dillon, we mentioned what a huge break that caution flag was for him. He got the Aaron's lucky dog back on the lead lap now after that speeding penalty on pit road. But he's very, very far back. A lot of trucks in between him and the front.
Got a lot of work to get back to the front after winning his 9th career pole earlier today.
This would be an interesting restart. We saw Bowyer jump out to a couple of good starts, but the last time Sauter beat him on the start.
The other thing, we saw Clint Bowyer choose the inside line, and now we're seeing Johnny Sauter choose the outside line for this restart. As they come back through the tri-oval, green flag goes back in the air.
And you know, on the start of the race, Austin Dillon picked the outside line, and Bowyer beat him, and it looks like a repeat.
Johnny Sauter Thought the outside line would be quicker. Now has the momentum, working his way around him through turn number 2. Johnny Sauter back out front.
Both those drivers ran that corner wide open. Johnny got the advantage. Same engine builder for both those trucks. RCR builds the engines for ThorSport as well as Kevin Harvick Incorporated, and certainly Austin Dillon and Joey Coulter as well.
There was a bunch of those Chevys up front today too, so obviously a lot of power under the hood of those Chevys.
Todd Bodine, Kyle Busch battling it out for the 3rd spot. Bodine down at the bottom of the racetrack. Kyle Busch running a little higher line. Justin Lofton running in the 5th position.
Had one Toyota and one Dodge up in the top 10, Rick. All the rest were Chevys. And if you look now,
there they are. Travis Kvapil in the 5, Parker Kligerman in the 29.
And that's the only Dodge in the field that Parker Kligerman is driving, the Penske truck rental Dodge.
Miguel Paludo in the 7, moves to the inside of that 5 of Travis Kvapil.
Good battle, good run for Paludo up in the top 10. Good run for Travis. That's not surprising to us, Phil.
Problem in turn number 1. Going into 1, actually coming out of the trial with the 8 of Nelson Piquet Jr.
Let's go, keep going.
You see the right rear fender crinkled up there. Whether that's contact from another truck, I believe.
Remember that he was in the middle on that last caution flag.
They're all flat.
Well, he needs to slow down. You don't want to blow one of them out, and that's what will happen and tear your truck all to pieces. One of those tires get to flopping around.
Huge break for Cole Witt. Cole Witt, he had that penalty for speeding on pit road, got a lap down. He's going to be the lucky dog. He's going to get back on the lead lap.
Come through the tri-oval. Take a look back. There you see the 8. Yeah.
He looks like got hooked in the right rear a little bit.
He must have. Contact must have precipitated that. He wouldn't normally do that.
He might have tried to change lanes, Phil, you think, maybe, and somebody was there. And, man, he was headed right toward that outside wall at one point.
We'll get another look at it here, maybe. He in the 92 of Clay Rogers.
I think it might even happen before that.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit late. That's when the spin started right there. Ooh, Brad Sweet does a nice job avoiding Nelson Piquet Jr.
Sometimes when it rains, it pours. Brad Sweet had a Dodge guy, got to spinning and got dodged. You could see there the black truck maybe made contact. It wasn't
Shane Segan, that 93.
It certainly wasn't irrefutable proof that he had contact, but I think that's after he started spinning when we saw the damage on Nelson Piquet Jr.'s truck. There's a contact with Clay Rogers that caused that.
His sponsor saying, could you have got hit somewhere else? We can't see our name anymore.
Well, 4th caution has come out here at Kansas. This time it's Nelson Piquet Jr. that brings out the yellow flag. Still out front, Johnny Sauter and Clint Bowyer. On June 24th, Speed presents the greatest collector car event in the world, Barrett-Jackson. See the finest, rarest, and most desirable cars on the planet all in one place and all up for grabs. Barrett-Jackson, Orange County. Watch the auction live beginning June 24th, exclusively on Speed. Hermie, the 18 came onto pit road. What were they doing down there?
Well, Rick, they came in on the previous stop and raised the track bar on the right side. Kyle is not happy with the way the truck is rotating through the center of the corner. So when the last caution came out, Kyle Busch came on the radio and said, we need to raise the left side track bar. We're a 5th place truck. I didn't come here to run 5th. So they came in pretty extended stay on pit road and raised the track bar on the left side, trying to free this truck up, Ray.
Hermie, on lap 75, Cole Witt just pitted. They put 4 tires and fuel on this thing. He's deep in the field, but that gives them an option for a 2-tire stop on the last pit stop.
Whoa, this is looking a little
bottling up here at the restart once again. Johnny Sauter back on the gas on the outside. Clint Bowyer on the inside.
I like the way that 2 truck comes down the front straightaway. It doesn't matter how far he's behind at the start-finish line. He beats him to turn 1, but Johnny's been able to hang on that right rear and grab the lead back, but not this time, Phil.
Yeah, that 2 truck really takes off. I don't know if it's the gears in the transmission or what. Some of these guys may even be trying to take off with a real high first gear and maybe be able to maximize that transmission.
3 wide, Jason White makes the pass in the 23 as he's on the bottom of the racetrack, way up high in the 62. Brendan Gaughan.
That's a huge surprise. Brendan being way up high there, but he's making some moves. Brendan right now is up into the top 10.
Scored in the 8th position last time by the start finish line. Clint Bowyer has been able to take that top spot away from Johnny Sauter. Bodine, Klickerman, and Lofton are your top 5. Travis Kvapil on the inside of the 22 of Joey Coulter, and Kyle Busch looking to the outside now of both of those trucks.
You know, Hermie reported that Kyle Busch came down pit road and they worked on the left side track bar. That's a pretty major adjustment. You actually have to take that loose. It's not like the right side where you can do it with a ratchet winch. You actually have to take that loose because it's a spline situation and move that. Pretty major adjustment for most of these trucks.
Yeah, and it's a big call for Kyle to tell his crew chief that that's what he wants to do. And if Kyle Busch hadn't won the last 3 in a row, your crew chief might say, well, we'll just do some air pressure or some wedge. But when you have the confidence in your driver, plus if your driver is the owner, you get a break there. But that's a big call. To be interesting to see if he can take that change in the rear end setting of this truck and drive to the front now. He couldn't before.
He thought he was a 5th place truck and didn't want to come here and run in the 5th place. So major adjustments for the 18 team. James Buescher on the inside in the 31. Looks like they're going to try to make it 3 wide once again. Here comes the 62 of Brendan Gaughan.
Brendan saw a hole in the middle. He said, why not take it? Justin Lofton, one of his teammates, was on the outside. There's Miguel Paludo. We saw him have trouble on pit road. Been running extremely well in this race. His spotter and driver coach is Terry Cook, who's a former winner here at Kansas Speedway.
We've had 10 races here and 10 different winners.
Potentially an 11th different winner. As we see Clint Boyer out in front of the field.
That guy running second right now would love to see a repeat winner. Yes. Johnny Sauter, who won this race last year with a tremendous slide near the end of the race.
Yeah, pretty dramatic fashion. There's the distance between 1 and 2.
Look at that guy creeping right up on those other 2 cats in third. Ty Bodine. I really think that this truck you'll have to beat him before this day's over. That team down on pit road, Hillman, those boys, they just really do a good job of tuning on that truck of Ty Bodine's and getting him to a position where he can do something with them at the end, and he's been really strong all day.
Moments ago, we heard on the radio Johnny Sauter talking. Take a listen.
I can't beat him. He's just that much better of a driver.
That's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, I think, for Johnny Sauter. I mean, he took off good. He had the lead, and then by the time they got to turn 1, Clint had driven back up beside him. I don't think, Johnny's on the throttle hard, through the gears hard. I think it may be a transmission situation more than anything else. But Kyle's going to use the whole racetrack right there, or maybe even part of the apron.
Yeah, that's where they were going in qualifying. Some of the drivers would choose that apron, so it's definitely an option here at Kansas. If you watch Daytona and Talladega and see guys go out of bounds, forget that. There isn't any out of bounds here at Kansas.
Kyle Busch behind the 88 of Matt Crafton. There's a good run through the center of the turn.
See David Starr right there ahead of him. Good run for Starr, but watch Ty Bodine. Joey Coulter gets a little loose. So there goes Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle had to take more evasive action there than I think that being intended on his path.
Little bobble there by Matt Crafton, and right by goes Kyle Busch.
Crafton's going to have more company. Here comes 22 and 32. A couple of young cats here racing hard. Just inside the top 15.
One of our former champions, the 5-trucker Travis Kvapil, right behind those 2 young drivers. Travis having another solid run here. They put some solid runs together now with that Randy Moss Motorsports team.
Past the halfway point. At the halfway point, it's Clint Boyer that's out front. Johnny Sauter runs second. Todd Bodine, Parker Kligerman, James Buescher, your top 5.
Travis makes the move to the inside of Joey Coulter, trying to take over the 14th spot.
Whoa! Sideways on the bottom of the racetrack, able to catch it. Hopefully catches his breath now.
That's a situation where he was on the inside of Joey Coulter. That inside truck has a lot of the air robbed off the rear spoiler, and I think that was indicative of that right there.
So Kyle Busch back up to the top of the racetrack now.
Yeah, he's also back up to the top 10, Rick. He restarted on lap 77 and 22nd. He's passed half of them so far, Phil.
They get a little bit tougher, though, when he gets closer to the front.
Clint Boyer out in front, but the guy with the most recent close call has to be Travis Kvapil. on the inside of that 22 of Joey Coulter. The back end tries to go around on him. He catches it, catches his breath, and moves on. Still chasing the 2 of Clint Bowyer. Welcome back to the O'Reilly Auto Parts 250 here on Speed, your motorsports authority. It's been all Clint Bowyer. After we've cycled through pit stops, Bowyer now has a 1.8 second lead on Johnny Sauter. Todd Bodine running in the 3rd spot. James Buescher and Parker Kligerman your top 5. The 18 of Kyle Busch running in the 10th position. During the commercial break, we listened in on his radio, and here's what he had to say to his team.
Shock, man, it's shock. Damn it, I got nobody to blame but myself.
That might be a little bit unfair. Kyle's being a little hard on himself. If you only blame yourself when you're bad, you can't just thank yourself when you're really good. So it's a team. This sport, we all know is a team sport, and those guys down on pit road. And Kyle will never give up. I mean, he won't give up till the last lap of the race, and moves around just Jason White into the 9th spot. So still a lot of race to go, Phil. This is one of our longest races of the year, so that team can rebound.
Oh, there's a lot of race left. 77 laps remaining in this race.
Let's take a top 10 drop back. We'll start off with our race leader, Clint Bowyer, and Ray Dunlap.
Well, obviously, Rick, this would be a big win for Clint Bowyer, Kansas being his home track. I talked to him at driver intros, and he said, I never dreamed when I was racing at tracks like I-70 and Lakeside, just on the other side of town here, that I would ever make it to the Sprint Cup Series. He said it'd be awfully, awfully special to get a win here at his home track. For number 13, Johnny Sauter, he is talking about how good his truck is in through the center and good off, but it's not as good on the entry. We saw earlier that Sauter took the high side on that restart. He said he thinks they've got a top 5 truck for sure. How about Todd Bodine with a brand new truck this week from the team? Todd has been very, very happy with the performance of this truck. In the early practice yesterday, they just dialed it in, and then they went for good race setup. Junior, his crew chief, keeps saying, listen, lots of racing left. We've got time to work our way to the front. For James Buescher running in 3rd, I have to keep thinking, what if this team had not missed the race back at Phoenix? Buescher and the team went home that day, and since then, they've been knocking off top 5 finishes week after week. Hermie?
Ray, what an awesome run it's been so far for Parker Kligerman in this 29 truck. He currently rides 5th after qualifying 7th. They've been fast all weekend, giving really good feedback to his crew chief about his truck. A little bit free on exit is what he's been fighting, but still holds on to a top 5 spot. Brendan Gaughan has been on the move since the minute they dropped the green flag. He qualified 24th, and as the guys in the booth have been talking about, he has been working the high line of this racetrack to make passes, especially, he says, on the restarts. That's when I make up a lot of ground and start making our way to the front. And this team really needs a good, solid finish. Ray?
Well, Hermie, I'd say the same thing about Miguel Paludo and that number 7 truck. They've had great racing, but they just haven't had the results to go along with it. The truck that Miguel is driving today is chassis 123. Johnny Benson used this truck to win years ago at Nashville. Hermie?
Well, Ray, we've documented the fact that Kyle Busch has been on pit road multiple times trying to free up this 18 truck to get it to turn in the middle of the corner. Well, Kyle, as we heard by the radio transmission, is not happy with the changes he's made. His cars and his truck is now too loose. He cannot use the throttle the way he wants to, so he's hoping to dial it in on the next stop. And as far as the 77, Justin Lofton, he has made very few changes on his truck. He got a good break when he stayed out and called a caution, made up a lot of track position. He qualified 18th and is currently running in the top 10 right now in 9th position. In the 88 truck of Matt Crafton, he has been tight the last couple stops working on his truck. He has really got a great track record on 1.5-mile racetracks. He's looking to continue to make his climb up into the top 5, but fighting a little bit of a loose condition with his truck.
Just outside the top 10, 23 of Jason White, again celebrating a birthday tomorrow. Started this race in the 13th spot, currently running 11th, trying to get another top 10 finish for his career.
Jason had a top 10 at Phoenix early this year.
See, Brad Sweet had a spin earlier, recovered to run in 12th. There's David Starr, been solid all day long, and Joey Coulter has had to miss had a couple of near misses during the course of the race, and he and Nelson Piquet Jr. round out the top 15. It's been an adventurous day for those two.
Yes, it has. But they battled back up into the top 15.
I think they want more.
See David Starr on the outside of that 22 of Joey Coulter. Starr and Coulter battling for the 13th spot on the racetrack.
Nelson going to use the draft off the 81 of David Starr to pull up beside. Caution on the racetrack.
Caution has come out, and I was just getting ready to say Clinton Boyer. Clinton Boyer is going to need a caution pretty soon because he's going to have to come to pit road. He last came to pit road on lap 50. Johnny Sauter on lap 49. So those two trucks were really getting close to their window as far as fuel goes.
Yeah, I think they were going to try to stretch it towards 60 laps because Clinton last stopped with 117 laps to go. It means he had to go 58 and 59 laps. So they were going to try to stretch it. They had a few caution laps that was going to help him. But right now, everyone's going to come to pit road, I believe. And I don't think they're going to be able to make it. I know they're not going to be able to make it the rest of the way.
Need a little bit better caution flag scenario to grab enough gas to make it to the end. This isn't the time for it. There's the debris.
Debris on the racetrack, bringing out our 5th caution.
Kyle Busch is the only one of the top 10 that stopped on our last caution flag on lap number 74. But I think if I know Kyle, he's going to want to come in and work on that truck some more right now.
Do you put the track bar back down, or do you maybe make a different adjustment and go with that? The truck was moving up. He'd gotten up to 8th and had run some really good lap times late in the run there. So maybe another adjustment, you can get that thing in the ballpark.
And again, Kyle Busch has never run a truck at Kansas Speedway, so this is his first start here in a truck.
Clint Boyer hadn't he?
Clint Boyer as well in that same situation, and we see Clint Boyer making the hard left turn and bringing the field onto pit road. Hermie Sadler.
Well, we just talked about Brendan Gaughan, the way he is making his way up through traffic. He's coming into pits now for 4 tires and fuel. The truck itself is running well. He's very complimentary of it. The big problem with him, he's asking for some ice packs, and he's got some blisters on the lower part of his back. Ray?
In the center of the screen, Hermie, you see Johnny Sauter in that Safe Auto Chevrolet. He said, loose in and tight off. I'm barely lifting in the corner, so I wish I could tell you some more. Joe Shear said, we'll work it out for you. Top of your screen, you see Clint Boyer. They're going to go with 4 tires here on this bad boy buggy Chevrolet. They're changing the air pressure on the right front back to what he had early on. We'll see Boyer will get down. Todd Bodine is going to beat him off pit road. It looks like the 3 may also. And apparently Brad Sweet must have gone with a 2-tire stop. He's first off pit road.
Big problem for Brendan Gaughan coming down pit road. There you see him leaving pit road right now. Brendan comes in now. He's going to lock the brakes up, slide through his pit, and when he does, Michael, he's too close to pit wall. When they back him up, when the jack comes around to the left side, he's not able to get a full stroke with the jack, and he can only get little baby strokes. So a 24-25 second pit stop when you really needed a 14 or 15 second pit stop.
Yeah, he's in the top 5, but Phil, he's hot. He said, I need some ice for my body. I'm hot in here. Is that the reason why he made a mistake? Maybe not focused on just exactly what he needed to do to get to the pit box, thinking more about letting that crew know that he needed some ice because his body was blistering. He's getting really hot.
Yeah, could very well have been. It's awfully hot out here today.
Difficult situation for Brendan Gaughan in the 62. The crowd hopefully enjoying Clint Boyer out front of this field. Celebrating the 400th race for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. The O'Reilly Auto Parts 250. You're on Speed, your motorsports authority. Problems for our 4-time champion Ron Hornaday. Early on it was Kyle Busch moving him out of the way, and then he has problems with his left rear tire.
Felt like he had a tire going down, and sure enough it was slowly deflating and finally came off. The carcass came off, and around he went. Significant contact with the outside wall, but back on the racetrack, when he fell out of the race, or when he crashed, he was in 33rd position. He's already moved up 1 to 32nd, so there's a couple trucks in front of him now that are already out of the race, so he will definitely gain a few more positions.
Out in front of the field, it's Brad Sweet, Todd Bodine on the inside. They're 1 and 2 coming back to the start-finish line. Green flag back in the air.
Whoa, Brad Sweet missed a gear. Or didn't get it shifted cleanly, Phil. You could see him losing spot after spot there.
So Nelson Piquet Jr. jumped down to the bottom of the racetrack to make the pass. NASCAR will probably look at that very closely. You're not supposed to pass till you get to the start-finish line.
It wasn't exactly a clean start by Sweet. I don't know if NASCAR will take that into consideration.
Todd Bodine out in front. Right behind him, Clint Bowyer. Bowyer, who's led 75 laps here already. Wanting to lead the 167th lap.
And he's got company, Rick. Here comes Johnny Sauter and Parker Kligerman driving around the outside of the guy that dominated the first 70-some laps.
Clint's going to fight back on the inside. Remember when we saw the race off pit road, we saw the three of Austin Dillon coming out up in the top 5, speeding, entering the pits, had to come back down pit road for his second penalty of the race.
Todd Bodine holding on to the top spot. Johnny Sauter, 2 truck lengths back behind him. Then it's Clint Bowyer, Parker Kligerman, and Matt Crafton.
James Busher and Kyle Busch in hot pursuit side by side of the top 5.
Another side-by-side battle. Behind them, Justin Lofton in the 77. Miguel Paludo in the 7.
Those trucks have been side by side all day, right together.
We have 3 former winners in the Truck Series here at this racetrack, and they're right now running 1-2. 2 of the 3 running 1-2.
Kyle Busch lost a couple of spots on that lap, Phil. Falling back like he had a problem, but now he's rallying.
But Cole Witt's going to drive up inside of him in that Red Bull Chevrolet.
Cole Witt trying to take the position away from Kyle Busch. They're running 8th and 9th.
See if we can see what happens to him off turn 2 here. Racing with Busher there side by side. Things pushing, Phil.
Yeah. Remember he complained about being tight at the start of the race. Then when they adjusted that left side track bar, then he got it too loose. We're not sure what kind of changes they may have made on that pit stop, but that certainly looked like he was tight there and lost the front end.
We have a battle at the lead for the lead here in a bit. Todd Bodine's got it. Johnny Sauter wants it.
Johnny Sauter has closed the gap. It was 2 truck lengths now. Sauter all over the back bumper of that 30 of Todd Bodine. Sauter's been running a little higher line. Bodine trying to hug that white line at the bottom of the racetrack as they go through 1 and 2. Sauter has to check up as he was right on the back bumper of the 30. That enables the 2 of Clint Bowyer to go by for second.
Just a bit of a break in momentum for Johnny Sauter. That opens up the door for Clint Bowyer to pull back up into the second spot.
Johnny Sauter come off turn 2 thinking, I got the lead, baby. Todd Bodine moves up just a little bit, and all of a sudden, I'm not in second anymore even. I'm 3rd.
So Todd Bodine catching the slower lap traffic. Out in front of this field, Clint Bowyer hugging that white line. Following just behind the 30. Those 2 running 1 and 2.
Brian Silas, the lap truck, the 99, in the middle of their front 2 trucks right now. Clint makes his way to the bottom. Here comes Johnny. Going to go by on the bottom of the racetrack.
Ray, what's going on with the 13?
Well, Johnny Sauter doing some comparison between a Cup car and the truck on the radio. Of course, he'll be driving Robbie Gordon's number 7 car here tomorrow afternoon. Johnny said he really likes the way his truck is on entry now, but it's too loose coming off the corner. Wants one more adjustment on the next round of pit stops.
I think we saw a little bit of Todd Bodine crowding up Johnny Sauter to keep the lead, and we're hearing on Johnny Sauter's radio that Johnny doesn't think that's cool. And when he gets there, he might express it.
Clint Bowyer able to take the lead away from Todd Bodine. Bodine right on the back bumper of Bowyer after he loses the lead.
Guys will remember what a season Todd Bodine has had. Last year at this time, he had 6 top 5 finishes coming into this race, or in the first 7 races. Now he's only had 1 top 5 finish, and that was at Darlington when he finished 3rd. Brand new truck here for Germain Racing. Spots are on board with National Tire Distributors, National Tire and Battery, I think, and then also Valvoline. So they're hungry.
They are, and you can see Todd's on the edge of control there, bouncing that thing sideways up off the turn. Todd's probably thinking, Clint passed me, Johnny. He didn't have any problem doing it. Don't be mad at me.
I'm wondering if Todd in the back of his mind is thinking, all right, I might want to give him plenty of room if he wants to go by me.
Well, he certainly just did give him plenty of room, but he's running the high side down in 1 and 2, low in 3 and 4. Look at Clint. He dropped to the bottom of the straightaway to try to break the draft so he can get away from these 2 battling for second.
Oh, trouble.
Into the wall.
Max Pappas.
Out, turn 2.
The 93, I believe.
Shane and down the back straightaway.
Well, we're showing 57 laps. 57 laps to go. That'll get everyone in their pit window if they choose to come down pit road on this caution flag.
Riding along with Max Pappas, the Toyota onboard. Again, the 93 of Shane Sieg into the wall.
A lot of damage to Max's truck, too. You see there the right side scrubbed off of it.
Take a look. They were battling for 18th.
There's going to be a little contact here. There is a little bit of contact.
That was
kind of odd looking, wasn't it?
That was weird. Thank you. Looked like
not sure why Shane ran into the back of Max, but when he did.
And then he chose to go the wrong way once he hit him. If you're going to hit somebody, you better go under him. He tried to hit him and go around the outside. See if we can hear Max's throttle here.
Back to your bumper here. Back to your bumper. Outside. I need to wrecked him, Mike.
You know what was strange about that? Max was out of the gas.
Well, he was loose, I think, with that truck up behind him. This is the lap before, and that may be one of the reasons that Shane Sieg ran in the back of the 9 truck on the next lap.
All the trucks are in.
Herbing.
Yeah, Parker Kligerman's coming down. He was only coming if the leader's coming. Fuel only, and a slight rate adjustment for Parker Kligerman. Ray?
Well, Bruce Cook told the two, Clint Bowyer, do not come. We're not in our window here yet. And Clint said, I can't stay out there on the racetrack and let the rest of these guys pit. Todd Bodine had already committed to come to pit road. He needed his track bar raised. He did not change tires here. Clint Bowyer is getting 4. Bowyer is going to go out about 15th or 16th.
Austin Dillon going to get 4 tires. He's still on pit road right now.
Differing strategies, lots of different strategies here, and that's what's fun about these truck races. You never know what's going to happen till you get her down to the end.
55 laps of racing remaining from Kansas Speedway. Stay with us.
It's Camping World's destination recreation.
You know, on most weekends, Rick, Phil, and Michael will tell you that I'm their biggest pest. But when you go camping, it's usually bugs and insects that are giving you the trouble. And that's why Camping World now has a great product called the InstaScreen. This thing sets up in 60 seconds. It's 15 by 13 on the inside and plenty of room for lounge chairs or a picnic table. And it's 7 foot high. You want to keep the bugs out? You just drop the zipper down, you're inside, and the pests are out here. It's real easy to set up and disassemble. You just push the little button, these all fall down, it collapses, and real easily you can pack it away in this nice carrier. And I also want to make sure you stop by Camping World to check out the RV Fair. That's coming up June 20th through 22nd.
I think that's unfair for him to say that most weekends we think he's our biggest pest. It's every weekend.
Every week. I think that never a truer statement was said, actually.
That's why Camping World sponsors the truck series.
Look at the campers.
Have we matched our demographic or what?
Right down
Dead
the
on.
middle.
Dead on.
400 times we've lined these trucks up, and it never gets old to me.
Just 52 laps of racing to go. It is Cole Whitt and Jason White. Cole Whitt has chosen the inside line. Jason White on the outside. Green flag back in the air.
Both these top 2 trucks elected not to take the opportunity to come down pit road. There's no way they can make it to the end. I'm not sure why they stayed out, Michael.
Look at Bowyer taking them 3 wide on the inside of Kyle Busch. Was that 4 wide for a second?
I think it was 4 wide for a second.
Oh, we got one into the back of another.
Jason White has to catch it. That
Johnny
23.
Sauter.
With the laps winding down, they're getting anxious to move to the front. Parker Kligerman on the bottom of the racetrack trying to hold on to that 3rd spot. Matt Crafton on the high side, running in the 4th position. Here comes the 2 of Clint Bowyer. Slides up the racetrack almost into the 13 of Johnny Sauter. Sauter in the middle of a 3 wide as they go through the tri-oval. All the way down to the bottom of the racetrack was Clint Bowyer.
What a move by Clint Bowyer, making his way back towards the front.
Johnny Sauter sideways off turn 2. Bounces up almost into the side of Matt Crafton. Matt Crafton has Jason White right on his tailgate. And Brad Sweet hard into the corner down on the bottom.
Brad is looking really racy. This is the best I've seen Brad Sweet look in his career.
Johnny Sauter closed the door on that charge by Brad Sweet.
Look at James Busher way down on the inside of the racetrack trying to move forward.
He saw Clint Bowyer do that. He said, why not? Let's give it a try.
Clint Bowyer went from 11th to 4th in 1 lap.
And I think he hit like 3 of those people he passed.
Cole Witt out in front. He has just over a 1/10 of a second lead on Todd Bodine. Parker Kligerman, Clint Bowyer, Matt Crafton, your top 5. Here comes Kyle Busch to the inside. There's Clint Bowyer going by Kligerman.
He's on a mission, isn't he, Phil?
Yeah, he sure is. He's awfully comfortable being out front. He's led 78 laps of the 118 that we've run so far today.
It's like just a matter of time before he's going to start adding to that total again. You can see Cole Witt and Todd Bodine are battling for the lead. That's going to allow Bowyer to close in quickly.
Todd needs to try to get by Cole Witt as quick as he can and try to open up some space between he and Clint Bowyer.
Side
he
by
knows that
side
Clint's coming.
For that lead as they go through the tri-oval. Todd Bodine has the lead on the inside, though. Cole Witt trying to battle back, not giving him that inside line. Todd Bodine's going to take the lead, though.
We've had 3 wide racing since this restart somewhere on the racetrack.
James Buescher, Nelson Piquet, and now James Buescher trying to get by the 88 of Matt Crafton. There's your lead on the left. Todd Bodine has a 3-truck link lead over Cole Witt. James Buescher in front of Matt Crafton. Nelson Piquet now in the middle. Here comes Kyle Busch on the bottom of the racetrack.
Let's go 3 wide again, Phil.
Yeah, Kyle's going to do it. He knows how to do that.
Looked like we thought about 4 for a second again.
Jason White trying to mix it up.
I'll tell you, Nelson Piquet Jr. Oh, he gets a little bit loose. Has to chase it.
And luckily there wasn't a truck on the outside.
And where'd Miguel Paludo come from?
Miguel Paludo in the 7 makes the move up in between the 88 and the 8. Here comes Brendan Gaughan in the 62 running the high line once again.
We know Brendan is used to running the high side. Sometimes you get over the cushion, but we have a side-by-side battle for a lead. Clint's using the bottom.
Todd Bodine with the momentum, trying to take it back on the high side of the racetrack. Clint Bowyer on the bottom of the racetrack. Bowyer trying to get back out front again. He's already led 78 laps. He makes the pass and back in front in Kansas.
Well, he just drove that thing down in the corner, didn't he? And it stuck right on the bottom of the racetrack.
Power move, and he did it all the way from when he restarted on this last restart. He just drove to the bottom, drove to the top, whatever he had to do to find a place to stick that Chevy. And when he stuck it there, he was gone.
Johnny Sauter takes over the 3rd spot. We were talking about Brennan just a moment. See how high he's running here. Sometimes you get up in the gray. Here he is racing Miguel Paludo. Brennan's truck's going to get away from him. Got a little bit loose. Had to chase it up the hill. Got up into the gray. There's very little grip up there. I don't think he hit the wall, but he was about as close as you can get to it.
Here comes David Starr. Looking to the inside of that 62. Brendan Gaughan trying to chase the 23 of Jason White now as he tries to go to the outside of Travis Kvapil. Clint Bowyer out in front by a half a second over Todd Bodine. Johnny Sauter, Cole Witt, and Parker Kligerman. They're your top 5. Clint Bowyer just 44 laps until he potentially can win in his home state. Welcome back to the O'Reilly Auto Parts 250 from Kansas Speedway. You see Kansas native Clint Bowyer out in front, and he has a big lead over Johnny Sauter. But should he start to worry about fuel? He was the one who said, I've got to come to pit road, when his crew chief said, I need you to stay out.
Here's how Johnny Sauter took over the 2nd spot. He moved to the high side. Todd moved up, but Johnny had the momentum. He's just going to drive by him on the inside. We talked at the beginning of the show. The pit window is somewhere between 52 and 57 laps. As we see Johnny jumping the throttle, he's moving to the high side. When Todd comes up, he's just going to pedal it a little bit, jump to the inside, and drive by him. Some of these guys, I think, are worried about being able to have enough fuel to get to the end. Clint Bowyer now with a comfortable 2-second lead. I think he needs to start pedaling a little bit, maybe saving a little fuel. What do you think, Michael?
I think you got a great point, Phil. They're right on the edge of making it all the way. So I think if any of these teams running out front see a caution, they're going to breathe a lot easier because they know those caution laps will help them get inside their fuel window. Even if they decide not to come to pit road, they'll still be able to make it because of running at a reduced pace. But there's a couple of guys, our point leader Cole Witt included, who need that caution to come out so he can get to pit road. He knows he can't make it. He's going to have to make a pit stop.
Yeah, he along with Jason White, we know that they have to stop. Jason right now is being shown in the 13th spot.
Kligerman takes 5th away from Cole Witt. So Cole Witt, one of those drivers who stopped on lap 99. Jason White also stopped on 99. The rest of the field stopped on 112.
Without a doubt, Cole Whitt, Jason White plan on stopping again, without a doubt. But if the rest of the field doesn't stop, even if we get a caution that allows them to come to pit road, the track position is going to be so poor. It's even there with fresh tires, it's going to be very difficult for them as we watch Kyle Busch gain another position on Cole Whitt to move up in the 6th spot.
Well, here's the caution will come out. Spin in turn number 2.
Clay Rogers, that thing had to be hard to drive with the whole side tore off of it like that, Phil, and it got away from Clay down there in turn 2. I don't know if there was any contact, but I know these things depend heavily on aero, and he has the whole side wrinkled in on his truck.
Yeah, Clay's so consistent, all top 20 finishes with the exception of the one poor finish he had earlier this year.
Had trouble over at Nashville, but other than that, he's been right in the top 20 week in and week out.
Well, now we're going to answer a lot of questions. We know Cole Whitt's coming down pit road. We know Jason White's going to come down pit road. We know that these caution laps, as you were just talking about, is going to give these guys an opportunity to improve their fuel mileage, as we see Clay just get a little bit loose all by himself up on the high side of Max Pappas.
That's something Clay don't do. He finished 3rd down at Daytona. He got the season kicked off right, led the points for a while, and now he's struggling today with a truck he's gotten wrecked.
So the pace truck comes back out on the racetrack. Gets in front of the 2 of Clint Boyer. Johnny Sauter running 2nd. The question now is, will these caution laps enable the trucks that came in on lap 112 to make it all the way to the end?
We were trying to guess who was going to pit and who wasn't on the last caution, and we didn't know. Well, the teams didn't either. The drivers were saying, I got to pit, I can't pit. So this is Nick Hoffman's getting the Aaron's lucky dog, getting back on the lead lap. Good run for this young man.
Another one of our teenagers
hanging in there. So I think these teams don't know exactly what they're doing right now. It's going to be a tough call.
I think now you're going to have to do it, though. If you're going to pit the rest of this race, you have to do it right now. You can't wait for a later caution flag.
That decision is about to be made. The field making their way through 3 and 4. Clint Boyer, Johnny Sauter out in front of this field. Todd Bodine looking to change his luck in the 2011 season. Runs in the 3rd spot. James Buescher, Parker Kligerman, your top 5. Kligerman makes the hard left turn. He will lead the group onto pit road. And the 18 of Kyle Busch decides to come back out on the racetrack. So we have a few trucks on pit road, Hermie.
Well, a great day for the 29 truck continues. Parker Kligerman comes to pit road. 4 tires Sunoco fuel. He only wants to take a half a pound out of the right front to help that truck turn a little bit better. Ray?
Well, Hermie, it's been an interesting day following Cole Whitt. They have been in multiple different positions, and this one was a no-brainer. They knew they had to come for fuel, and he did want an air pressure adjustment. They'll go back out to the racetrack. He is the only person that has ever led the points in this series as a rookie, and it looked like they could have some serious trouble today, but they've rebounded multiple times. We'll see how far he can race back up through the field.
Sometimes you don't decide what you're going to do to the last minute. Kyle Busch watches, sees how many trucks come to pit road, decides he doesn't want to be one of them.
You were talking about the crews not knowing what they were going to do. They didn't decide till absolutely the last second what to do.
He had to clear that orange cone. He did just that, went back on the racetrack. We'll be back for the green flag. Wait a minute. The party continues from Kansas Speedway. It's the 400th race for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. The O'Reilly Auto Parts 250 here on Speed. Let's go back to pit road, get some updates on what took place on pit road. Hermie?
Hey, Rick, Matt Crafton on the previous caution came down pit road. He got back on the racetrack 6th, but as he was pulling out of his pit stall, he had contact with the right front of his truck against the 66 of Justin Marks. So they've come back in this time to try to repair some of that damage to the right front of the 88. We'll see if that helps. And kind of in a laughing way, also Rick Wren, general manager at Kyle Busch Motorsports, came over and said, Hermie, we ordered a kitchen sink for this truck, but they said it couldn't get here before the end of the race. So these guys have done everything they can do, still not 100% happy with their 18 truck. Ray?
Well, I can tell you, Hermie, Todd Bodine is certainly aware that Kyle Busch did that move down there to get that track position. Todd has said that his truck is a little bit too aggressive in the center of the corner, and it feels like it's leaning on the right rear just a little bit too much. Mike Hillman Jr. reminded him, you are the man on 1.5 miles. Don't worry about what those guys up in front of you are doing, and certainly don't worry about the guy behind you.
The guy behind him he's talking about the 18 of Kyle Busch, who's won the past 3 races in the Camping World Truck Series, trying to make it 4 in a row, but has been struggling here in Kansas. Stay with us. Pace truck pulling off of the racetrack, putting the field back in the hands of Clint Bowyer and Johnny Sauter. Clint Bowyer has been dominant. He's led 93 laps. Green flag back in the air.
See if Johnny Sauter can do anything with him. Johnny Sauter able to get up through the gears extremely well here. Get side by side with Bowyer.
Working their way through 1 and 2. Side by side for the lead. Clint Bowyer making the move on the outside. Trying to take that top spot back away from Johnny Sauter. Bowyer out front. Sauter runs second.
James Buescher climbing all over the back of Todd Bodine, or excuse me, of Johnny Sauter. You see Todd Bodine racing hard back there with Kyle Busch.
So Buschers have been able to get by Todd Bodine for the 3rd spot. Bodine drops back to 4th. Then it's Kyle Busch in 5th.
Good
and then
battle
side
for
by
6th.
side behind him for 6th.
Brendan Gaughan trying to overcome that miscue on pit road. Ooh, Parker Kligerman gets to the inside of PK Jr. Gets a little bit loose down there.
Nelson Piquet Jr. right in the middle in number 8. Jason White on the high side.
Kligerman thought, I can get most of it in there, I know. He got it all in there, but it wasn't without running into PK Jr. and scooting him up the road.
The 88 of Matt Crafton a little bit slower on the racetrack. 3 wide once again. We saw Parker Kligerman on the bottom of the racetrack, down on the apron.
Trying to get by the 7 of Miguel Paludo.
Look at that battle inside the top 10. Look at all those trucks, man.
Kligerman started 12th on the restart. Has already moved up to the 7th position.
Good side-by-side battle back there between the 3 of Austin Dillon, the 5 of Travis Kvapil.
How about his day? Austin Dillon served 2 penalties on pit road.
Well, we saw Kvapil almost spin out down in the corner. He barely fit that truck up in front of Austin Dillon, didn't he? Here comes Brad Sweet. He did spin out. Little contact from Nelson Piquet Jr. and that truck went around.
There's Timothy Peters. We haven't seen Timothy in a long time. He's battling up in there in the top 15.
Right in the 15th position now.
Right behind him, Cole Witt. That truck just hadn't been right today, Phil. He's used some strategy to get up front. It's got some track position, but it hadn't handled right. We saw him under the hood working on it, so maybe they've improved it.
He's gained about 10 positions since the restart.
There's the Battle of Brazil. Nelson Piquet Jr. and Miguel Paludo.
Right now, Nelson Piquet Jr. has the advantage in the number 8.
Look at Kligerman. Look to the bottom of Brendan Gaughan.
Got a Connecticut, Las Vegas, Nevada battle going on.
A couple of Las Vegas guys.
If we're going to go countries, we might as well go states.
Yeah.
Here comes Kligerman once again to the bottom of the racetrack.
Do cities, Westport, Connecticut,
That's
specifically.
Right.
I thought he was from Greenwich. That's what Russell said.
Yeah. He meant Greenwich.
Yeah, make sure Greenwich is the way you say it. Kyle Busch just in front of these two, running side by side for position. Kyle Busch into the top 5. Has never had a truck to really compete for the lead. There's 10 drivers that have been out in front of this field, and Kyle Busch has not been one of them.
But he's worked it to the top 5 now, Rick. Laps winding down. He's wound up in the top 5. He said he didn't come here to run 5th, but after his day, he might take one and just say, oh, that's all we had today.
Trying to defend his owner's championship from a year ago.
Parker Kligerman running 6th right now. Brendan Gaughan back to 7th. Nelson Piquet Jr. Another impressive run for him right now, running in the 8th spot.
Just 24 laps remain. Clint Bowyer out in front of Johnny Sauter, James Buescher, Todd Bodine, and Kyle Busch, your top 5.
There's a wad of trucks right here, led by the 32 of Brad Sweet. Brad's being shown in the 11th spot. There's Jay White, the 23 Gunbroker truck. He runs in the 12th spot.
Solid corner there for Travis Kvapil. He got down on the inside and trying to make it stick on Jason White.
I don't know if I've seen this track look slick or slippery like we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast. We thought that with the heat, the sun beating down on this racetrack, that it would get slick. really haven't seen that much of as far as loose trucks on the racetrack.
Well, they're bouncing around a lot. They're moving around a lot, so there's not a tremendous amount of grip. Sometimes when it's slick, Rick, it just isn't the back end that'll give up. It's the front, too. So I just think they're managing and dealing with a lack of grip, less grip than they've had here in the past.
And they just run slower. You know, the drivers know that, and they adjust, and they're just able to run a little bit slower pace and yet keep those trucks underneath them.
With just 22 laps remaining and out front Clint Bowyer, does he feel more comfortable about his fuel since we've had a couple caution laps?
Absolutely. I think now they feel fairly secure that they're in their window. Now that doesn't take into consideration the potential of a green-white checker. So, you know, any green-white checker could add, you know, up to 6, 7, 8, 10 laps. So I don't think they feel like they have enough to do that. But to get to the prescribed distance, I think they're okay.
And I think that extra lap they ran under caution, we were going to come back green, and they postponed it a lap, which added another caution flag lap to their fuel, getting them to the good side of the fuel window. That's big. It's just one lap under caution. You'll take every one you can get, especially when it's tight like that.
These two continue to stay tight on the racetrack. Parker Kligerman on the bottom of the racetrack. The 62 of Brendan Gaughan on the high side, still fighting for that 6th position.
Parker may have had enough room to pull up in front of Brendan, but he knew that Brendan had the momentum, and he would have had to slam on the brakes. But now, how about Nelson Piquet Jr. is going to drive under Parker Kligerman?
Nelson Piquet Jr. takes the spot away from Kligerman for a moment, and here comes Kligerman right back.
You see all that darty dancy around, Rick? That's just him trying to force that truck to do something it didn't want to do. Piquet made a great move, but the truck just wouldn't stick, and he gave up the momentum off the corner. See on the other side of the screen, battle for 13th, Austin Dillon on the inside of Jason White. He does make that move work, trying to bring Cole Witt along with him.
It's been a frustrating day for Austin Dillon after he won the pole. He did win the pole earlier, his 9th career pole, but since then, 2 penalties on pit road have delegated him back to getting his lap back thanks to Aaron's, and now battling in the top 15.
Yeah, just the fact that he's back in the top 15 is pretty amazing.
Whoa. Oh, it had his truck sideways.
Trying to get by the 23 of Jason White.
Ray, what are you hearing out of Clint Bowyer and that team?
Well, when you guys started talking about fuel, I decided I better check on it. Climbed up on the box and asked Crew Chief Bruce Cook, how are you? He said, we're 1 lap to the good here. And he was texting back and forth with Kevin Harvick. I happened to look down at the phone, and it said GWC ? That means if we go green-white checkered, they're no good. They're 1 good right now, as Phil said, to the prescribed distance.
Todd Bodine just in front of Kyle Busch.
They've got to where they can figure this gas mileage pretty close, too. They really figure it to the last pint of gas in that tank and try to just assume and assume usually correctly that they can get all the gas that's in that tank out and into the carburetor.
The pickups are so good now that as you see the gap between first and second, it's about a 2.7 lead for Clint Bowyer right now. But the problem is when they're out, they're out. The pickups are so good, it gets every ounce, but there's no warning.
We'll take one more break before we see the checkered flag. The distance between 1 and 2, 1.7 seconds. Stay with us. Who kept their edge today? The Keep Your Edge Just for Men mustache and beard. It has to go to our 4-time champion Ron Hornaday. Even though he had problems early in this race, he has kept his edge.
Reported in that he had felt like he had a soft tire, and sure enough, it came apart going in turn 3. But his guys jumped on that truck, and there was a bunch of damage, and there it came right back on the racetrack, probably about 50 laps behind.
Yeah, but that's the reason why he kept his edge, because he's back on the road.
Looks like he'll finish 30th today. Keep your edge with Just for Men mustache and beard.
Now, unlike Just for Men mustache and beard, this isn't pretty, but if you use all that stuff for your grooming habits, then you can look sharp.
Grooming needs.
That truck doesn't look sharp.
It's bent up.
And it's slow as syrup right now, too.
Speaking of sharp, the 2 of Clint Bowyer has been very sharp today, but now that he's having a little bit of traffic in front of him, Clint Bowyer has lost a little bit of his lead on Johnny Sauter. It used to be 1.7 seconds. Now it's 1.5 seconds. And we see Joey Coulter and the 18 of Kyle Busch racing on the racetrack.
That's my speed spotlight right there. Joey Coulter talked about the fact that at Dover he figured out this racing thing. He's began lately just to put in runs that we say, okay, this kid knows how to race a truck, and he's proven it today right on the heels of Kyle Busch racing for a top 5 position.
Trying to break into that top 5. Coulter will have to get by the 18 of Kyle Busch to take that spot away.
Joey's going to jump to the high side, try to get some momentum up there. Kyle able to squirt out in front of him up off the corner.
Big Mo, use it on it. 10 to go, Joey.
Talked about it, Dover. He started 5th and finished 6th, and that's one of the toughest tracks for a young man to get his legs under him at, and Joey was able to do it. And you just can't understand how much that helps your confidence to go to a place like Dover and qualify inside the top 5 and run right there all day long. And now this will add to that. He's racing for a spot in the top 5. Is going to have to get around one of the fastest cats around to do it.
Parker Kligerman on the outside of Brad Sweet. Those two racing for the 9th spot. Kligerman had it. Sweet wants it.
Boy, after the restart, as you mentioned, Parker Kligerman drove right up it well into the top 5, but he's faded just a little bit here now, dropping back to the 10th spot if Brad Sweet's able to pull this pass off. Not able to do it quite yet.
Yeah, Brad Sweet bobbled a bit there. Looks like the truck got a little bit loose coming out of turn number 4, and Kligerman was able to take advantage of it, get back to the inside. But now Sweet flexing the muscles on the outside once again, trying to get by that 29.
There's Travis Kvapil just knocking on the door of the top 10. That truck getting better and better at each and every week. His best finish last time out at Charlotte of the year was 11th, and looking to better that.
Great battles all over this racetrack. You can see there on the left-hand side of the screen, Joey Coulter trying to get the top 5 away from Kyle Busch, and Parker Kligerman trying to wrestle away a spot in the top 10 from Brad Sweet. And like you said, Phil, Travis Kvapil just wanting to get him a top 10 this year. Who would have thought we'd have said that 7-8 races into the year that Travis Kvapil hadn't got a top 10 finish?
Don't let him up.
Here, Joey Coulter's spotter letting him know he's yours.
See if he's not able to clear him. Kyle fights back on the outside. Has the momentum from the top side.
Those two continue to battle for that 5th spot. Kyle Busch has it. Coulter trying to take it away. 6 laps of racing to go. Clint Bowyer, his best finish in Kansas, has been 2nd. He's done it both in the Cup Series and the Nationwide Series, but has never won in his home state.
He definitely doesn't want to see a green-white checker. Anytime there's as many battles on this racetrack like you see here, guys side by side, that's certainly a possibility.
Joey's in a very vulnerable spot there on the inside of the racetrack. You notice Kyle's sticking pretty close to him now. That's going to make Joey's truck a little bit looser.
Baby, he's yours right down here in 1.
Truck looks pretty stable though down there.
That battle for 5th continues. That time Kyle went up the racetrack just a bit higher exiting turn 2. His momentum keeps him in front of the 22. Coulter just not able to make the pass. A little bit of a bobble on the bottom of the racetrack now, as Kyle Busch on the high side still has that lead over the 22 of Coulter.
Every lap that ticks by, Joey gets a little bit more desperate, gets a little bit more aggressive down there, and you see that truck starting to bobble around more.
That time by, Coulter got credit for being in the 5th spot as he crossed the start-finish line just ahead of that 18.
And that's a big position too. There's a huge difference between finishing 6th and finishing 5th. There's a battle for the 10th spot. Travis Kvapil trying to get him a top 10.
Just like this spot.
Same exact thing.
You want 10th a lot worse than you want 11th. And especially if you think about Coulter, he's already done 6th. It's time to get a top 5, baby.
Clint Bowyer has a 2-second lead over Johnny Sauter. 3 laps of racing to go. Positions being battled all over the track. 5th still in question. 10th still in question. Parker Kligerman trying to take the 5th spot back, or the 10th spot back from Travis Kvapil.
There's also going to be a battle for 2nd here too, Rick. Todd Bodine is closed right up on the back of Johnny Sauter. So you're right. They're battling all over this track. There's Bodine.
Remember, in the back of your mind now, been a long time since these guys were on pit road. When we think they're okay, we think Clint Bowyer is 1 lap to the good, but sometimes you can maybe not get it quite as full as you think you got it.
Todd Bodine trying to keep the momentum up, looking to take 2nd away from the 13 of Johnny Sauter.
I like Boyer's position, though. He's run that truck right on the bottom of the racetrack. That's the shortest way around. He got him a lead, so you know he could roll out of the gas a little bit. So if I'm Boyer, I'm pretty happy. If everybody else, I'm nervous.
Clint Bowyer crosses the stripe. White flag goes in the air one more time around Kansas Speedway, looking for his first win at this racetrack.
Todd's moving in on Johnny Sauter in that battle for second.
You saw earlier they didn't exactly agree about how one passed the other, so these two could Todd could get up beside him. Be interesting to see what Johnny does, and he's going to get there, Phil.
He's there. Now he's going to switch to the bottom.
Bodine to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to take second away from Johnny Sauter. Sauter comes down the racetrack, holds the advantage in front of Todd Bodine, and the win will go to Clint Bowyer. Wins in Kansas in his home state.
Johnny Sauter holds on for second. How about Joey Coulter? He's going to win that battle for fifth with Kyle Busch.
Coulter takes fifth away from Kyle Busch. Busch goes back to sixth. Brendan Gaughan with a seventh place finish. A very strong finish for him. Timothy Peters able to get by just in front of Cole Witt, David Starr.
Boyer's corralled.
What a strong, dominant run by Clint Bowyer.
You can almost hear it in his voice and see it in his eyes. Every time we interview him and every time we talk to Clint about this weekend, this race was hugely important to him.
You guys, this badass truck. You guys did a hell of a lot of work on this thing. Great turned around.
Actually, it's a bad boy truck.
Bad boy buggies on the hood of the winning truck. Clint Bowyer will be headed to victory lane, and his crew chief is going to meet him there, but first he's going to talk with Ray.
Well, a big win for Bruce Cook, but maybe even bigger for Clint Bowyer. When I walked in the garage the other day and I had picked Kyle Busch on the race hub to win this race, you told me I was crazy. How did you know you were going to be this good?
Oh, we were just that good, I felt. I got to thank Kevin Delano for giving us everything we need to go win these damn races like this, and everybody back at that shop that puts the bodies on these things, to putting them together to come to the racetrack. And I just had a feeling this week with everything that we've gone through the past couple times, running second and sitting on the outside pole, it was just going to happen right here for him in his hometown, and I can't be any more happier for him and Kevin Delano.
First truck win for you. How's it feel?
Oh, it feels great. I'm happy for my team. They deserve this. They worked their butts off for this, so this is what it's all about.
That was a dominant performance today by truck number 2.
Dominant is right. He led 5 times for 124 laps, including the final 46.
He better put it in gear there, Clint. There you go.
He gets to get out and hear the applause of his hometown crowd. How cool is that?
Less than 100 miles from here, Emporia, Kansas.
Clint Bowyer, his first win at Kansas Speedway.
And you remember his voice at Charlotte when he got passed in the last 10 laps by Kyle Busch, how disappointed he was?
And you know, you got to think that a lot of those folks cheering are from the Joplin, Missouri area. This part of the country just devastated by that tornado. So it's nice that these folks have a chance to come out here and cheer for a hometown guy and just have a day at the races. It's therapeutic for a lot of folks, I'm sure.
Clint Bowyer climbs back into his race truck.
There's a good shot of Joey Coulter, who got his career best finish of 5th there. Let's take a look back and how we saw him battling Kyle Busch here. That's coming off turn number 2. He's going to jump down to the bottom of the racetrack as they go down to turn number 3. He knows he's out of time. He's going to have to make it happen now.
Got aggressive and drove up the hill. He took that position away from Kyle Busch.
And I think he did it at the exact right time, because that was the last lap. And this is after that battle. Kyle's going to pull up beside him and say, Joey, that's not how to do it. But
see the little bit of smoke there? That was tire smoke from the trucks rubbing together. But pretty cool pass by Joey Coulter.
Guy who finished second, Johnny Sauter, is with Hermie.
Yeah, Johnny Sauter actually making comments about the 2 truck. You gave him everything you had. He was strong today, but a good solid run for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Couldn't be more proud of everybody at ThorSport, all the guys at the shop. Skip, body was great. ECR engine was strong, and I got to thank Safe Auto, Carrier, Heating and Cooling, Curb Records, Chevrolet, everybody that's part of this. I thought we had something for him there in that middle run, and then that last pit deal, we elected to take fuel only, and that was our only way to beat him, and he got through traffic better than we did. But nonetheless, great day for us. Proud of Joe, proud of all the guys, the way we unloaded and all the wholesale changes we made to this thing. I knew we had a shot going into the race today. Just I don't know where that 2 truck came from, but kudos to those guys. I mean, dominant performance, but I don't know. I feel very, very good about going to Texas next week.
I was going to say, before we let you go, points leader by 12 points now. Got to be proud of that also.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I say all the time that I want to win races, but the championship is something obviously we're keeping our eye on. In my personal opinion, it's probably too early to be looking at that, but a 12-point lead is huge, and I couldn't be more proud of my guys. I mean, this is all about them. I mean, our pit stops, everything over the winter, just making us a championship effort, and thank Duke around Thorson, man. I'm having fun. I hate finishing second, but we were there, and we were close, and that's all that matters.
That's Johnny Sauter. He comes home second.
It was a good battle between Sauter and Clint Bowyer on the restarts, but after a few laps, it was Clint Bowyer that was able to check out on Johnny Sauter. But Sauter was the closest competition that Clint Bowyer had all day long. He celebrated at the start-finish line, and we'll hear him celebrate in victory lane after the break. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series on Speed is brought to you by The Rally, powered by Camping World and Dish Network. The Rally is the largest RV event in America. Visit www.therally.com for more information. By Aaron's, you don't need credit. All you need is Aaron's. By Ram Trucks, designed, tested, and proven to be the best trucks we've ever built. Ram. And by Dollar General. To get your favorite products on race day, visit Dollar General. Save time, save money every day. Coming up next, it's the Rolex Sports Cars from Watkins Glen. 6 hours at the Glen. Today that starts at 4:30. Again, happening just after we hear from our winner of this race. We go to Victory Lane and Ray Dunlap.
Well, Clint Bowyer has won a lot of races at Lakeside Speedway on the other side of Kansas City. He's got 4 Cup wins, 8 in Nationwide, and 2 previous truck wins to today. But I got to believe, Clint, this one is certainly extra sweet. Congratulations, you're a winner in Kansas.
Boy, that Gatorade burns. Absolutely, man. Just so happy to finally be in Victory Lane here. It meant so much to me. The fans are always awesome here. So proud of this speedway and everything that's become of it. I always dreamed of being able to race here, let alone be able to win here is just a dream come true. All the folks from Bad Boys are here. Them things are awesome. I can't wait for hunting season to get on a Bad Boy buggy and have some fun. Just hats off to these guys, man. I tell you, they did their job on pit road. My man made a good call there and put 4 tires on. A little bit worried about his call, but we got up through him on a restart, and I knew we had a good shot at him.
What's the chances of getting the sweep on the weekend here?
We got a lot of work to do in a Cup car, but American Ethanol is on board with that car. Really proud of the sponsor. It's our first time sponsor for them, and we're gonna give them a run for the money. We're gonna try hard.
They put this thing away early in practice yesterday. They were pretty confident. Clint Bowyer, in dominating fashion, gets his 3rd win in Camping World Trucks.
Thank you, Ray. The AT&T call of the race. Well, it most definitely goes to Clint Bowyer and the number 2 team. Early on, a slow pit stop relegated them back a ways.
Yeah, and they also made the call. Clint told us Bruce Cook made the call to put 4 tires on his last pit stop. He's a little bit worried about it, but man, did he make his way up through the field.
You had to think Bruce knew Clint was going to be determined to get back to the front, and there he goes, right back to the front and straight to Victory Lane.
As we've talked, he's been determined since he got on the Speedway grounds this weekend.
That was the AT&T call of the race. And now you see Clint Bowyer enjoying himself in Victory Lane. Let's go back to Hermie Sadler. He's with Todd Bodine.
Well, Todd Bodine, you said you had a fast truck, but it was a hot truck. Long day out there today for you.
Yeah, it's a brand new Tundra, Toyota Tundra, and these guys worked and built a great truck, ran great, but as in all new pieces, you got to work out the bugs, and we got to work out the heat. I mean, that thing, it fried my rear end and under my arm, but hey, if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough. We had a great truck, and we hung in there, and great pit stops. Again, the Dirty 30 Germain team is just awesome every single week, and we had a good run. Come out of here, to come out of this slump. We wanted to win. There's no doubt, but we had the 3rd best truck. Clint and Johnny. We were running Johnny down at the end. I think if we had another 10, 15 laps, we probably could have got him. But we had a great day, great truck, and NTB, National Tire and Battery on here. Valvoline, it's great to have somebody on the side of this truck for a change, and great companies. We're so proud to have them. And I want to say hi to Nana. Thinking about you, sweetheart.
Well, this is kind of the way we're used to seeing you guys running a mile and a half. Todd Bodine comes home 3rd.
Top 5 finish for Todd Bodine. Greatly appreciated. How about the celebration for Hornaday and Clint Bowyer? Hornaday, a tough day for the number 33 team. They got into the wall, spent 65 laps in the garage, but was able to congratulate the 2 team. Welcome back to Kansas Speedway. The Ram Guts and Glory Award has to go to Cole Witt. What an up and down day that team had.
Really weekend. He had to change an engine yesterday. Got very little practice time. Made an early pit stop to make adjustments. Had a speeding penalty on pit road. Had some good hard racing there. He's racing with Jason White, but he persevered. Got back on the lead laps. Some more hard racing with Travis Kvapil and Miguel Paludo, and he ends up with a top 15 finish. Comes in here as a point leader. Leaves second in points.
That's our Ram Tough Guts and Glory going to Cole Witt in that 60 team. Take a look at our unofficial point standings. Johnny Sauter grabs the point lead away from Cole Witt, has a 12-point lead. Austin Dillon, with a not as good as he was hoping for finish today, is 30 points back. Crafton and Timothy Peters winding out our top 5.
And what a drop we've seen from Ron Hornaday last week at Charlotte, or last 2 weeks ago, with a penalty, 25 points, and a 30th place finish here. Finds him 56 points behind.
A very warm weekend in Kansas City, Kansas. It started off with Austin Dillon on the pole, and then Clint Bowyer decided to dominate from the drop of the green flag, led 124 laps, was looking for that first ever win in his home state.
Talk about speed. How about our next race at Texas next Friday night?
Another mile-and-a-half racetrack. The Camping World Truck Series celebrated race number 400. Clint Bowyer won it.
Next week, the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series visits the Texas Motor Speedway, where the speeds are big, the banks high, and the action is endless. 6-time winner Texas Todd Bodine will be gunning for a 7th Charlie one-horse hat, while the rest of the competition look to end his Texas reign. Who will come out on top? Tune in to find out. Chris DeVota hosts the setup starting at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, followed by flag-to-flag coverage, only on Speed.